Cuando lo bajaron, me creo.
Wait, are we still... Wait, are we here? Wait a minute. Why did the... Huh. Where'd the music go? Huh. Music pivoted. The stream did stop for a second, but... Huh. So did it cut out at all? It looks like we lost internet, but I didn't lose power. All these systems, everything here is working just fine. Office UPS worked fine, but I think the internet lost power too. Huh. The Rainbow Twitch picture came on. For how long, Blackness, you think? Time to put the modem on a UPS. It is on a UPS, but the ONT box is not. I'm going to have to put the optical network transfer box on a UPS as well. Yeah, so we have a fiber optic connection. And with a fiber connection, guys, you have an ONT. You have an ONT and you have a modem. It's an optical network transfer. It converts the optical to in to coaxial, I think. I'd have to go look. And then out to Ethernet. But the power systems are good. Yeah. That actually didn't take very long. The reason why I was gone for 15 minutes is because I was talking with the utility company guy about power grids. I mean, I mean, he's there. Might as well. He took the meter off, and it has. So okay. If you guys want to learn here for a second, right before we really start like New Glenn coverage, American households have 240 volts in. You have 240 in, but the outlets are 120 or 110. I mean, depends on how old it is, right? So like a house like in Europe or something would just have 240 everywhere. We have two types of outlets. We have light duty and heavy duty outlets. So the heavy duty outlets are 240, right? But the light duty stuff, what we do is we take the 240 and we split it to 120 negative, 120 positive, right? So this is how this conversation started. The guy took the meter off and I see 4 posts and I'm like, that's 120 negative positive in and out, right? And the guy turns around and he goes, yeah. yeah. He's like, yeah, that is. I'm like, what's the line? Is the line 4 or 7? He goes, oh, that's a 7,000 volt line, but it's only single phase. I'm like, oh, that's light duty stuff. He's like, yeah. So yeah, that's and then the guy was telling me about power systems for like the next couple. Yep. We have positive, negative, and ground. So there's that. Did we just become best friends? Yep. Project Kuiper has been renamed to Amazon Leo.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
What is this? Coming from RGV, the blast door at pad B. Yeah, that's a little big. You activated his nerd response. Oh, yeah. No way a Boston electrician sounds like that. He was like... He goes, oh, yeah, this is the 120. That's the other 120. Together, they make 240. So if you need a washer or a dryer, they make 240 together. You have to wire it separately, though. Is that what you wanted to hear? Because that's what the guy sounded like. Okay. Okay. That's what the dude sounded like. Man. And I was like, what about the lines up there? He goes, oh, what lines are you talking about? I go, the ones that are out on the street. He goes, I go, are those 4 or 7? He's like, oh yeah, in your neighborhood it's 7,000 volts. And dude, I have to wear gloves when I'm when I touch these things, man. You know, you got to be careful because this stuff it doesn't care. You know, it goes to the path of least resistance, and you can't see where that path of least resistance is. You got to be careful. We have to check our gloves every day. Yeah, that's how that conversation went. Brimo was there. Yep. Are Boston people relieved when they get home and can finally stop doing the accent? I don't know what you're talking about, man. What if I do a voice here and I sound like that off stream? What if that's the case? What if it's the reverse of what you said? When I hit the Powerball, I will fund VFTs to learn this stuff. Cool. Yeah, all right. I think you know dang well what I don't know what you're talking about. Have you seen Destin's new video? Visiting the Browns Ferry NPP. I have not, but I gotta watch it. Your boss has totally slipped out before. I'm not putting this isn't a speaking voice for stream, I swear. Swear. How's Brimo's Michigander accent? Oh, it's there. It's pretty funny. I give her crap for it. I go, hey, I'm going to AutoZone. She goes, oh, okay, you're going to AutoZone? I'm like, yep. Yep. Let me get in the zone at AutoZone. I've never seen an accent so based on the job you have as the Boston accent. Be quiet. Starfield Boston Space Pirate was a fun time. Dude, I forgot all about that. I mean, to be fair, so did Bethesda. They forgot all about that game, too. Hey, your car parts. Does she say, don't you know? Don't you know is not a Michigan thing. That's a I mean, well, serious, you know. That's not a Michigan thing. People from Michigan don't talk like that. That's Wisconsin, man. You know that. I had to remember where you were from for a second. Microprocessors. It's the kind of technology that can put a cruise missile up the butt of a camel from a couple 100 miles away. All right. This is great new Glenn coverage, isn't it? EJ's real accent is New Zealand. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm surprised you did not pick up a Southern accent from the 2 or so weeks you spent in Texas. I didn't, Graham. No. I did confuse it, dude, on the plane, though, because I wore my work boots and my work pants, right? And I was I think it was flight 8. I flew down there, and there was a guy from Texas sitting next to me on the plane. You could tell he was from Texas. Work boots, blah, blah, blah. So the guy was he was a paramedic doing medical courses in Boston because Boston's very good for medical research and stuff. So he was coming up here to learn about whatever, right? And the guy thought I was from Texas because I had work boots on. Yep. Yeah, we were talking about trucks, and he's like, oh, where, you're flying home. Where you have? I'm like, I'm not flying home. I'm flying from home. The guy was like, what? He's like, you're from Massachusetts? I'm like, yeah. Yes. Yes. He's like, well, confuse me, man. I'm like, why? I'm like, he's like, oh, no, I'm sorry. I just thought, what we were talking about trucks and stuff. I was like, dude. I was like, don't do me like that, man. He started laughing. It was funny. That was a good time. And then I was transferring in the airport in Dallas, and another guy thought I was from Texas, which is weird. What the hell's that about, dude? I don't know. It's got to be the work boots. That's the only thing I can think of. It's got to be the work boots, man. What the heck happened on yesterday's Battlefield stream? Funniest stream ever, man. You were locked in. That last game, That last game, I let myself get angry. Yeah. I told you you're the most southern northerner I know. Oh, jeez. Move to Texas? I'm not moving to Texas, man. Hey, Texas is all about that independence thing, right? All right? We're from, dude, I'm from Massachusetts. We invented that. We invented that whole independence thing, okay? We invented that. That's from here. All right? So, I'd like to think that we got a kinship, you know what I mean? You got a Texas type body. I'm not sure what that means, but all right. Yeah, no, dude, that was not the first or second time that has happened. Like, I tell people that and they're like, "What?" I'm like, "What do you mean? Did you not hear the way I talk?" Like I don't get it. Anyway, sweet tea in the harbor? No, sweet tea. Nah. Houses in South Padre are really cheap, by the way. I don't care, man. Hey, chat wanted me to move to a Cape. All right, they said, "Oh, you should move to the Cape. You should move to the Cape when we were looking for a house." I moved to a Cape. I moved to Cape Cod, not Cape Canaveral. All right, it's close. It was close. Hey, you didn't say which Cape. I'm just saying. What dialect for you is the hardest to understand? I don't have problems understanding dialects.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
What gets me is when people mumble, because sometimes when people mumble, I can't hear them. It just sounds like the Charlie Brown teacher to me. Do you own a cape even? Yeah, maybe. XTC, 62-month resub. Is the YouTube stream back? No. Cape's a cape. Yep. Is Maine accent the same as Boston? No. It's close, but yeah, so like if someone's soft spoken, dude, I'll have conversations with them and I just can't hear what they're saying. First few times I saw you, I thought you were from Florida or Texas. Dude, look, all right, the part of the country that I'm from is not known for pickup trucks, guns, and NASCAR, but I'm not saying I was a little bit weird growing up, because I liked all of those things, and that confused a lot of people, all right? But that is how that went down. I mean, you understand boom hour, man. Zip, boo, I understand that birthplace freedom, man. Yeah, I don't know how that happened, but yeah, anyway. Actually, all systems. You reminded me of something. You know, I like some of the things, and most people where I live don't. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, all systems. You reminded me. There was a dude. I was setting up cameras in the dunes during Flight 7, and I'd just come out of the dunes, and we were getting ready to walk back to the truck. We just started talking with people because that's what you do. That's what, like, Jack, you know, Gage, everybody that's down there, Caesar, you know, people. We wear NSF merch. We start talking to people, right? So I have two funny stories from the dunes, actually. So the first one, in all systems, you reminded me of this, and we'll pick up New Glenn coverage here in a second. All right. The first one is there was a guy down there from Alberta, and he didn't tell me he's from Alberta. I could tell by the way he was talking. I heard the difference in Canadian dialect, and I'm like, you don't sound like the Canadians that I live near. So that's got to be Alberta, right? Right. So we were just talking, you know, we were talking about industry and stuff. And then I was like, you know, I told them what we do. I teach people about STEM. I teach people about industry. Like I teach people I pointed at the LNG plant that was across Brownsville Harbor. I'm like, I'm interested in how that works. And he was like, oh yeah, man, I'm working on that. And I'm like, I just kind of said, I'm like, you sound like you're from Alberta. And the guy was like, how the heck did you know that? I'm like, So that's a funny story for the dude. And then me and that guy was cool. We were just talking about industry and gas and rockets and stuff. It was freaking sick. Yeah, that guy was awesome. Right? Yeah, I was like, I put two and two together. Guy works in the oil and gas industry. Doesn't sound like the Canadians that are near me. Where else could that be? Right? He talked a little bit like Peg. Yeah, a little bit. Actually, it kind of sounded more like Callie, who was go faster. Who's guess where he's from? Guess where he's from. Just saying. I'm just putting that out there. Teach me how to make friends like that. I need that in my college life. You just got to go start talking to people and ask stupid questions. Or not stupid questions. I don't know. Just start talking to people. Graham, like, okay, if you're going to college and you're going to college for aerospace, I don't think you need to worry because the people that are in the same class as you, probably like the same stuff as you. That's something that's very important to understand, right? Like, when I was in college, I was like, oh, I don't know if I should go talk to these people. Then you realize you're in college for video game design. There's a pretty good chance that the people that are in your class like the same stuff that you do. Go figure. Now, the second story from the dunes, this one's funny. If anybody's from Michigan, you'll understand this. So, you know, a couple of, I don't know, like a day later, we were setting stuff up in the dunes, and I was talking to two dudes, and once again, I picked out the Michigan accent. I'm like, yep, you sound like you're from Detroit. So we were talking, right, and they were like, I was like, so where are you guys from? They're like, Detroit. And I'm like, what do you mean Detroit? Like the city? That's a big place. Like what part? And they're like, yeah, just outside the city. And I'm like, all right, they don't know. They're even if they told me, they think I don't know Detroit. And I go, fellas. My wife's from Detroit. She's from Dearborn. She lives down the street from the Rouge. And they were like, oh, dude, yo, I'm from Westland. All right. Oh, I'm from Garden City. I'm like, yeah, let's see. Like, it was a switch flip. They're like, oh, you know. That was funny. That was a good time. They were like, no, you Detroit. Yeah, here we go. I'm going to say we're from Detroit. And I was like, no, fellas, you're misunderstanding me. No. My wife's from Michigan. They're like, oh, okay. Hey, Andrew, sorry I've been away again. Life's been hectic. And actually today you're starting a new job. Cool. And most are even bigger nerds than you. That's right. Yep. Been over the Ambassador Bridge. There you go. Yep, random bozo. I noticed that Boston is the same way, dude. Anybody that lives east of 495, which is Boston's outer beltway, if you're not talking to somebody from New England, you just say you're from Boston. They're like, oh, that's cool. Like, I'm not from the city. I grew up in the suburbs, like right outside of the city. All right? But if I'm talking to somebody that doesn't know Massachusetts, they don't know if I say I'm from Newton, they don't know what the hell that is. They don't know what that means. They're like, all right, is that near that? I'm like, yeah, okay. But if you're talking to somebody local, you flip, right? Michiganders do the same thing. And I figured that out. But I see, because Brimo, I know the code. You're excited for the Gordie Howe Bridge. Yeah. So yeah, EJ stories from the dunes. Those are fun, man. That's a good time. I'd love to go back down there again. It's not gonna be the same without Jack, though. Whatever. He'll be back. Not like that. He wants to cover others. He wants to show up for Starship flights. He wants to see Starship. Not he'll be back like he's going to do bad at his job. He's definitely not going to do bad at his job. I'm in junior college right now to save money because you are a broke boy. So? Yeah, Ernock, people from Iowa are the same way. Yeah, people from Iowa are the same way. There's codes. You switch it. You switch it. If somebody knows, like if I say, oh, where are you from? Somebody from Ames will be like, oh, yeah, just around Des Moines, and I'd be like, no, you're from Ames, that's north. They're like, oh, like, I don't know why I know that, but whatever. You know. All right. Shall we start the new Glenn coverage? Oh yeah, Grizz, there you go, man. Yeah, we went by the Bama. Dude, we didn't lose signal in that tunnel, which was actually pretty cool. Are the bumps about to be fisted? Yeah. Yeah. All right. Their coverage is going to begin in about 30 minutes. You really can't understand people from South Carolina? Why not? South Carolina isn't even the worst one to understand out of all the southern all the southern accents. That's not even the worst one. Louisiana and Mississippi are the worst. That's the hardest. As somebody from north of the Mason-Dixon line, those are the hardest ones to understand. I can understand people from South Carolina. That's no problem. It's the Cajun stuff that I'm the only wombo. I'm like, yep, all right, yep. South Carolina, easy. Georgia, easy. And I can hear the difference. I mean, dude, I do impressions. Like I can hear the difference. Georgia, South Carolina, two different accents. They're way different. Tennessee is different from all of them. North Carolina, you can hear North Carolina, but that's a lot of people move to North Carolina nowadays, so you can tell who's not from there. And then there's Northern Florida, that's the Panhandle. Yeah, okay. Kentucky's definitely different than Tennessee, though. Like I said, I can hear the difference. They're definitely a different accent. You have a weird Midwestern accent. Because of Bree, dude, I can hear the difference between like Illinois, like people from Illinois and people from Michigan versus Ohio. I can definitely hear the differences there. Minnesota and Wisconsin, I can't hear the difference. There is differences, though. I know that. Not much, but it's there. I feel the pain. 45 years in Chicagoland, now 5 years in Tennessee. Y'all, what's a pop? Oh, God. That sucks, Stoner. That's funny, dude. That's funny. Can you let your Boston accent slip for a bit? No, I'm good, man. I'm good. All right. Let's title card this thing. Let me get the YouTube stream up and running. Let's roll.
consume but never feast. Metal wings slice the void apart. A funeral pyre, a rocket's heart. Does the air tear or does it yield? What's the cost of the battlefield? Volcasonic retro propulsion. Fire fights fire in the sky's combustion. From plasma storms and blackout seas. Gravity's chains snap with red rivers, burning trails, echoes scream where silence fails. Ashes rain, the sky won't care, but we keep climbing unaware. I spin in circles, I scream to the void. Afforded oasis, my rage is employed. A storm in my chest, it burns and destroys. Dance with the chaos, spin till you fall. It burns and screeches the end of it all. Round and round until we crawl. This is the inferno, the polka brawl. Your lies are balloons, they pop in my face. I'll stop on the floor, leave no empty space. A carnival riot, no room for disgrace. Buttons clicking, hearts are ticking. Heads are flying, skies are splitting. Dance with the chaos, spin till you fall.
Discovery, go and throttle up.
Burn and screeches the end of it all. Round and round until we crawl. This is the inferno, the polka brawl. The tuba's a demon, the snare drum's a beast. The accordion's fury will never be safe. This is a battle, a musical fate. The polka goes harder than hell's unleashed. Brawl
Are we ready for attempt 2 of the Blue Origin New Glenn rocket? Flight 2 here, launching NASA's twin satellite ESCAPADE payload, which will eventually get to Mars. Are you guys ready for attempt number 2? Are you ready? Are you ready for the ultimate ride into space? Maybe if it launches in a world where both of our satellites are encapsulated in the rocket, one launch will take them further than some other payloads have ever gone. How did the meter swap go? Meter swap went fine, dude. Yeah, I lost the internet for a second, but we didn't lose power. Rares, it did take like 15 minutes, but I was telling Twitch chat, dude, the reason why the meter swap took 15 minutes is because I was talking with the guy from the utility company about power grid distribution systems. The guy was like amazed that I knew that we split 240 into positive and negative. He was like, I'm like, yeah, that was cool. How'd that combo go? No, it took an extra 15 minutes. Whoops. But the power systems work, dude. The power systems were working. Oh, Blue just went live. All right, hold up. Here, let's pick up the coverage from Blue. Let's see what we got.
10,000 employees here at Blue Origin.
Ourselves included, I'm Tabitha Lipkin.
And my name is Arian Cornell.
And this is NG2.
The human need to explore.
Yeah, we can't play that. The music will get flagged. You know, they launched Black Ops 7 today. Why? Why? It's like that scene in the VO sounds like, all right, yeah, in a world. Yep. Why? It's like that scene in Silicon Valley. I invited you to my wedding, Gavin. Why? Why? Yeah, that's one of my favorite lines. Random. Today I learned Italy declared war on Japan in World War II after Italy surrendered. 100% necessary. Yeah. I mean, hey, Tim. That was Tim. See that? That was Tim and Jeff. Rares, do you think Gle will launch? Oh, God, Methane. Not the Nuglin's brain rot. You brought it into the stream. Gle? Why? Why? Not the Gle? Oh, God, not that again. All right, let's see. Let's see what's up.
Hey friends, once again, I'm Tabitha Lipkin with Arian Cornell. Now Sunday, we had to scrub due to weather, but today we are back with you and ready to see New Glenn take to the skies.
Yes, Tabitha. So today's launch window is going to open at 2:57 p.m. Eastern Time and conclude about 90 minutes later, plus or minus, at 4:25 p.m.
Now right now, let's take you out to a live look at New Glenn on the pad at Launch Complex 36.
Oh, rocket's looking beautiful.
Stunning.
Beautiful day to launch. A little bit different than our weather on Sunday when we tried. Now, for today's launch, NG2, we have two goals, two objectives. First is to safely deploy the payload, which is NASA's ESCAPADE, which is heading out on a mission to Mars.
And the second is to land the booster for the first time. Now, if we don't land the booster, that's okay. We have several vehicles already in production right behind us. But now we're hearing it's about time for that go, no-go poll. So let's toss it over to the rocket and listen in.
OSM.
OSM is go.
RC. RC is go.
Range coordinator.
ESR.
ESR go.
AC.
AC is go.
Discovery, go and throttle up.
Recovery.
Recovery is go.
Chat.
PLI.
PLI is go.
I don't know what any of these acronyms
BMD.
are.
BMD is go.
GC, LC1, LC2, initiate final configurations for terminal count. Report when ready for pre-terminal count gate checks.
GC cut. LC2 copies. LC1 copy. LC1 ready.
Launch coordinator.
Discovery, go and throttle up.
RT. RC2.
All right, you heard it there. We are go for terminal count. You heard Launch Director Megan Lewis, and she's been a great asset, of course, to our team. And I know we are all so excited in these final moments. So let's bring in our third member of our Blue Origin team, Eddie Seyfert. Eddie, you were standing by with employees here at Rocket Park. What's the vibe Oh, yeah, I can already hear what the vibe is at that viewing party.
Hey, Tabitha, hey, Ariane. We're so here. We're so happy to be here. Rocket Park is go.
NG2, NG2.
That's right, NG2. That's
I
right.
love
Let's
it.
go blue.
Eddie,
ESCAPADE.
what kind-
ESCAPADE. Yes, tell me.
What kind of view do you have? Where's the rocket with respect to where you are right now?
Rocket is downrange 9 miles. It's a clear, sunny day in Florida. We've got a great view, and we're very excited to be here.
Oh, that is so great, Eddie. It's so great to see so many employees, just some of the 10,000 employees that are here at Blue Origin who worked on this rocket and worked for this moment. Now, Eddie, really quickly, I have to ask you, a big part of what we do here, and I'm sure a lot of the people behind you have worked on, are our engines. Can you share a little bit more about the engines that are going to be working hard today?
Yeah, Tabitha, look. The upper stage, 2B3U's mega Delta V, mega performance. And the aft section, 7B4s, 3.85 million pounds of thrust, but we're going to be louder.
You certainly are. And of course, Rocket Park is just one of our many locations. We've also got our crews, our Team Blue, down in Texas at Launch Site 1. We've got people out in Kent, and we've got people in DC, in Denver, in Los Angeles, all across the United States, and it is so great to have everyone together for today. So thank you so much, Eddie. And of course, engines, a big part of what we do here at Blue Origin.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, our Jackie Cortez got the chance to talk to Nick Robertson about how engines are the foundation of our operations at Blue.
Nick, thanks for being here today. Tell us some of the big accomplishments and what are you looking forward to in the next year?
Yeah, so one of our biggest goals this year was continuing to increase our production rate, both for our B4 engines, 3U engines, and 7 engines. So we roughly doubled our production rate from last year.
Wow.
For B4.
There's music. We can't listen to that either. It'll flag it. They're talking about ramping up engine production, dudes. So, for everyone that was asking whether the cast, wasn't going to be, like that, I think you have your answer.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Flip up, 47-month resub. So, guys, once again, this is New Glenn Flight 2 launching NASA's ESCAPADE twin satellite mission to Mars. New Glenn is a 2-stage rocket. There's 7 BE4 engines, like those big guys on the left. There's 7 BE4 engines in the first stage and 2 BE3s in the second, B3Us in the second stage. That is the engines on the other side of the aisle here. New Glenn is a partially reusable rocket. It is a 7-meter core diameter, with the first stage today performing a downrange landing on Blue Origin's landing vessel, LPD, or landing platform system, or landing platform vessel 1, called Jacqueline. Jacqueline, its namesake is Jeff Bezos' mother. That's Jeff's mom's name. So New Glenn, if everything goes right, we're gonna try to get a downrange landing on the landing platform vessel on Jacqueline here. Now, the upper stage is with the 2 B3Us is going to carry 2 satellites for NASA called the ESCAPADE mission. The twin satellites for the ESCAPADE mission are destined to go to Mars. And what they're going to do on Mars is essentially look at the trace elements of Mars's atmosphere, particularly the ionosphere. So it's going to study Mars's magnetic field, or a better way to say it would be the lack thereof. Now, if you know a little bit about orbital mechanics, you know that, well, Earth and Mars are in 2 different orbits. Earth is closer to the sun, right? 3rd rock. Mars is further away. 4th rock. You get the idea, right? You can only really get the most efficient time to get to Mars is obviously when it's closer, right? And I know if you know orbital mechanics, or if you've played Kerbal Space Program, it's not necessarily that. You got to be in the right phasing, in the right ejection angle for the right transfer window, et cetera, et cetera. The quick way of saying it is that they need to be close to each other, right? And they'll do a transfer burn. But that transfer window, when you do a kind of an elliptical transfer like this, right, only really happens every 26 months. So if you know a little bit about orbital mechanics, you know that we are not in a transfer window for Mars. The next transfer window for Mars is happening at the end of 2026. It's about a year from now when Earth and Mars get close to each other. See? Right now, we're on opposite sides of the solar system. Now, where these satellites are going to go is basically a neutral position in space where gravitational pulls from various celestial bodies cancel each other out. What I like to call them is gravitational tide pools. They basically kind of just sit there. These satellites are going to sit there in this gravitational tide pool called a Lagrangian point. And they'll orbit around the neutral points in gravity. So this is going to Earth Sun L1, which means it is going to a position where gravity is neutral between the gravitational pull of the sun and the gravitational pull of Earth. And they'll kind of sit there in that gravitational tide pool until the transfer window comes, and then they'll boost out to Mars using Earth for a gravity assist when the proper phasing happens. So if you're wondering why we're going to Mars when we're not in the transfer window, well, there you go. These satellites are basically going to sit between the Earth and the sun and just like a buoy almost, right? They're just going to sit there, just kind of hovering around. And then when the transfer window, when the opportune time comes, when Mars gets close, they're going to shoot them off. They're going to leave that little gravitational tide pool, and the two satellites will actually fly by Earth about 400 miles up in the air. They'll fly by and they'll use Earth for a gravity assist to get on the proper trajectory for Mars. Roughly how big are the L1, L2, L3, L4 points? They're not very big nuclear. The interesting thing about them is that you actually orbit around the neutral point in gravity. You don't kind of sit there, you kind of orbit around it. And orbiting through the neutral position, this gravitational tide pool, so to speak, you actually kind of do an infinity. You make an infinity sign. That's how you orbit around nothing in space, which is super cool. It's a really, really interesting thing to do with orbital mechanics. And to get something out to L1, you need a big rocket like New Glenn. Hey, Astro95, what's going on, man? $20 super chat. Finally caught an EJ live stream. Love the coverage, dude. Go New Glens. Yeah. Radio Galaxy, what's going on? Hi, YouTube chat. How you guys doing over there? Bith, tier 3, 88 month 37. Bacon Warrior heard a tier 142 or 41 month before that. Dino had a 106 before that. Thanks, guys. So, yeah, the nerd speak is basically saying Mars isn't close right now. So the rocket's going to put the satellites up there, and they're just going to sit up there until the transfer window for Mars gets here. Now, Blue Origin was originally supposed to launch this in the transfer window in late 2024. But it turns out building a, 280 foot tall rocket that's with a 20-foot wide core is a little bit challenging with 7 engines in the first stage and 2 engines in the second. Turns out that's pretty complicated. So, what they're doing now is instead of waiting for the next transfer window, they're going to launch the satellites, get them up there, and then wait for the right time. But that doesn't mean that you don't need a big rocket to put this thing up to what's called a Earth solar Lagrangian point. Shake it in your boots, yeah, right? How can solar weather affect the launch? Solar winds are a perturbing force. So Blue did scrub. They were supposed to go on Sunday, and they scrubbed because of Earth weather and boats in the range. And then they were supposed to go yesterday, Wednesday, the 12th, and they scrubbed for space weather. Space weather is, you're not going to get, hurricanes or tornadoes in space. It's the vacuum. What you do get is charged particles of radiation. It's basically, what I like to tell people, it's basically the exhaust plume of the sun. Every once in a while, the sun, which is a gigantic hydrogen and helium power plant, right? It's a power plant that runs off, fusion. And just like any other power plant, it has an exhaust plume. And every once in a while, it backfires. Those backfires, it coughs every once in a while. Those backfires are called coronal mass ejections. The coronal mass ejection is basically when a backfire happens on the surface of the sun, and the charged particles of radiation get shot out so fast that they actually hit escape velocity of the sun, which is insanely quick. These particles do float around in space. If you've gone outside over the past couple of nights and looked up at the sky and you notice that there's some pretty colors up there, you're seeing those winds interacting with the gases in our atmosphere. That's what creates the aurora effects. Now, these forces are perturbing to a spacecraft. Solar winds and radioactive particles are still a perturbing force on a spacecraft. Just like the wind could blow something away, solar wind can blow a satellite off of its orbital track. Also, because what the perturbing force is radioactive, it can actually fry stuff. So the reason why they didn't go yesterday wasn't because of Earth weather, it was because of space weather. This coronal mass ejection just shot right at Earth, which does happen from time to time. Ads before launch. Yes, that's right. So, yeah. Skies look good for an attempt today. The solar activity is still a little bit on the higher side. Weather guy, we didn't actually get a chance to go through the freaking weather, but everything looks good. I didn't think they would pick up the cast this quickly. So I'm going to run ads so nobody gets an ad on Twitch, so nobody gets an ad during the launch. So I'm going to run them now. How will they store cryogenic propellants for a year? Driados, the satellites are not using cryogenic propellants. The stage is going to push the satellites out there, and the satellites are going to chill out there. Does launching now cost the satellites more Delta V? Not in Earth Sun L1. No. It's a push for the most part. All right, let's bring up the cast.
9. TCS active. AFSA safety timer started.
Okay, so I already ran them, Sea Kraken. Don't double last me. Not during a launch stream, please.
Oh, this is space.
Too bad, give
I'm
to
in
the
space.
sub, thank you. That was a vent down. Clock is still running, 3 minutes, 20 seconds. Isn't space weather also an issue when it's sitting at the L point?
News for you.
Yeah?
We are in terminal count. They did the final go, no go poll. New Glenn is ready to launch, and we've transitioned into that terminal count. Now, from
3
here
minutes.
on out, you'll be hearing from our flight ops, Patrick Moore.
And from here, the vehicle is also running fully autonomously on software. So our engineers are hands off. They've got their eyes on their screens, but the rocket is in control of itself at the moment.
Yeah, right now they're continuing to condition the propellants on the second stage using chilled helium. You can tell the rocket is nice and cool. And this will continue for another minute or so and helps prep the liquid oxygen and liquid nitrogen that powers the BE-3Us.
Liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen. Sorry, that is for the upper stage.
That's right.
And then also on the first stage, we've got. Hold on a second. There's Kent. Hello, Kent. They're ready for a rocket launch here at 2 minutes to go to launch. One interesting thing to watch here. A couple of things. One is that the 7 engines start in a stagger start. So we've got 3 of the engines that will start, and then the other 4 engines that start just a second later.
Okay, what they were trying to say is that they're topping off the hydrogen and liquid oxygen tank in the second stage. They're basically priming what's called a boost pump. That's what that was for. They're the boost pumps. The boost pumps are needed to create the right head pressure to feed into what's called an expander cycle engine. The second stage engines rely on heat for mechanical actuation to turn on the pumps. The propellants are cold. You pump the propellants through the engine with a smaller pump called a boost pump. It's right there. See that little nacelle thing? And basically, what the propellants do is when they go into the engine, they exchange the heat from the engine with the propellants, and the propellants turn to gas, and those gas drive a turbine, and that turbine drives your fuel pumps, and that turns the engine on. You got to prime the boost pumps. They'll be working, hopefully, here in another couple of minutes. But we are T-minus 60 seconds here for the NG2, or New Glenn Flight 2, NG2 mission. launching NASA's ESCAPADE twin satellite mission to Mars.
Go at throttle up.
Let's bring the audio back in. 50 seconds. See what
Hydraulics
happens.
are started up on the forward and aft. You might start to see the engines gimbal a bit here. They're going to move back and forth. Make sure they are nice and clear. And we're going to wait here for the big water. Let's turn it back over to mission control. Let's light this candle. Go, New Glenn.
30.
Can't wait. Tell me the odds.
Can't wait to see this booster back on Earth.
GS1 hydraulics internal. GS1 at flight level. GS2 at flight level.
Okay, I'll hold.
Hold.
Vent down. It's a new rocket, guys. Give it a second.
All right, as we've seen here, our team has decided to go into a hold at T-minus 20 seconds.
So
Let's wait to learn just a little bit more here.
Immediately when they went into a hold, second stage vent down happened. So I'm gonna go ahead and guess it probably has to do with
shaping complete.
It probably has to do with off nominal temperatures in the second stage. Hydrogen is a little bit tricky to manage. I did not see the deluge system turn on, Beating. So this has two systems. You have the
Thank you again, everybody. If you're just joining us, we are awaiting here NG.
You have a suppressor, a sound suppressor, and a pad deluge system. The pad deluge system is underneath the rocket launch mount. The sound suppressor is above. That's the difference between a deluge system and a sound suppressor. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you won't have a sound suppressor system somewhere down the line in the trench. Sound suppressors are basically anything that's not completely underneath the rocket. The deluge systems are underneath the rocket. That's the difference, in case you were wondering. There's a shot inside of New Glenn's fairing that fairing insulation is still delaminating in there. That was there before. Those are the twin satellites, and this thing in the center is called a payload attachment fitting.
I believe that's ESCAPADE, correct?
That is ESCAPADE. They're ready for its launch to space, to Mars. It's going to have to wait just a couple more minutes here, obviously. There you see the base of the rocket, the 7 BE-4 engines.
Okay, Mars ain't going nowhere. Ariane, we can hear you typing on a laptop, by the way. We're not in a transfer window, Hokie. The ESCAPADE satellites, New Glenn is going to launch the ESCAPADE satellites to Earth Sun L1. And they'll sit there until the transfer window is open. When the transfer window opens up, they will grav assist off Earth to get the proper ejection for an elliptical Hohmann transfer to Mars. If that didn't make any sense, fellas, if that was nerd speak, sorry about that. If that didn't make any sense, the Earth and Mars are not near each other right now. They're basically going to put these things up there, and they're going to wait until they're going to put them in a type of orbit that is opportune for transferring to Mars when Earth and Mars get close to each other.
T-minus 20 seconds. We are currently in a hold because we had a terminal count abort. Our team, like I said, is currently investigating. So while everything is getting sorted out, we're going to toss it back over to NG2 on the pad and give you more information as it becomes available to us.
Can someone remind you of what New Glenn's mission is in the long term? Guys, I'm going to turn closed captions on in case they start talking again. I can hear it because I can't play the music. YouTube will flag it. This is Blue Origin's New Glenn launch vehicle. New Glenn is a 2-stage heavy lift launch vehicle with a reusable first stage. Fooled, you're wondering over there, can someone remind me again what New Glenn's mission is in the long term? Now, a lot of people out there are spaceflight fans. If you're even remotely got your finger on the pulse with what's going on with commercial spaceflight nowadays, everybody's familiar with SpaceX, right? SpaceX is hell-bent on going to Mars and maybe the moon soon, which is pretty cool. Blue, as kind of a contrast to that, is a new space commercial launch provider, similar in function to SpaceX or United Launch Alliance or Northrop Grumman or whomever. However, Blue's goals aren't necessarily to go to another celestial body. Blue's mission statements are to make, is to really work on on-orbit spaceflight architecture. It is really about building out the infrastructure and the proverbial transcontinental railroads to make it so it's easier for people to live and work in space. Blue is basically what they want to do is like focus on building habitats in space, bigger space stations, and utilize these heavy lift launch vehicles to do that for commercial purposes. They want to work on building space stations and space habitats. And if you want to build something that's anything remote, any remotely useful, you would need a big rocket. If you look at other, like I said, you look at SpaceX. SpaceX has a big rocket. They have a big rocket because you want to do big things in space. You want to do big things in space, you need a big rocket. It's not complicated. When we went to the moon, big rocket. Okay. The vehicle that built the ISS, the space shuttle, big rocket. You need a big rocket to do cool things in space. This is a shot of Jacqueline, the landing platform vessel that New Glenn, if it decides to go today, will, Jebediah Kerman willing, will actually perform a downrange landing on. We'll see. Orbital reef to give interstellar crustaceans a place to live. All right. So once again, they got to T-minus 20 seconds, and they went into a hold. Immediately after the hold, the second stage vent lines did kind of go bananas there. And I also thought the second stage venting leading up to the hold was a little interesting. We did get a call on the countdown loops about nominal second stage flight pressures. But we don't have an official word from Blue. But if I'm going to guess, I'm going to guess it's probably something to do with second stage propellant temperatures.
Discovery,
we immediately saw a vent right when the hold happened, so it's probably something with the second stage. EJ could be wrong. I'm not a rocket scientist. I did stay at a Holiday Inn though one time, so I don't know. It's just a guess. I'm not reporting that as news. It's just a guess. It's just my opinion. I mean, I don't know. There's a million parts on this dang thing. And if I don't have the telemetry in front of me, I won't be able to tell you what went wrong or didn't. The timer in the hold has been removed. Your head is smoking. Thank you. I'd like to think that I look good. Scrub. Oh, no. Don't say those words, chat, don't say the words. Don't say those words, man. You can't say, you gotta don't you put that evil on me, chat. Don't you put that evil on us. Your chair was on fire. It's okay. You scrub. Hey, I don't want no scrubs, all right? Don't go chasing pad deluge systems. No, waterfalls. Yeah, we can't play any of that. What's burning in the back? So count those. This is a really weird camera angle. It looks like the rocket's on fire. Those are purge flames. Now, why do you have purge flames? Okay. Blue Origin's first stage is using liquefied natural gas and liquid oxygen. LNG is like a combination of methane, butane, and propane, boy. Got to say it like that. Sorry. So these propellants, and the second stage is using liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. So these types of propellants, if you think hydrogen, oxygen, methane, you think gases, right? Because naturally down here on the surface, they're gases. But it's easier to take it with you when it's a liquid, because liquid is a little bit easier to manage than a gas. However, because the liquefied natural gas, liquid oxygen, liquid hydrogen, because they're all liquids, they need to be extremely cold. They're called cryogenic propellants. That's a really nice way of saying super cold liquid. All right. Now, the liquid oxygen because these propellants are cold and they're at pressure, they boil. Like if you take water at ambient pressure and you put it on the stove and it goes over 100 C or 212 Fahrenheit, you're going to start boiling. These things at high pressure, super cold, they're also boiling. That's what these vent lines are. Now, here's the thing. You do not want to vent liquid hydrogen next to liquid oxygen. That is a really nice way to turn this into a Hindenburg demonstration. We do not want to see that. Pretty sure Blue doesn't want that either. Now, because these propellants are boiling, the liquid oxygen is going to turn to gaseous oxygen. They just vent the oxygen overboard. I don't think anybody's going to care if you vent oxygen into the atmosphere. That's probably not a big deal. The hydrogen, though, and the liquefied natural gas probably don't want to vent those, right? So there are purge flames. Because the propellants are boiling off, all these umbilicals, see all this stuff that's plugged into the rocket? Those are scavenging systems. They're evacuating the gaseous hydrogen and gaseous natural gas that boils off from the propellants. They're scavenging them and they're bringing them to a purge flame. Because here's the thing. You could vent the hydrogen in the atmosphere. I mean, that's kind of uncool, but you could do that. You could vent the natural gas in the atmosphere. That's kind of fine. But the thing about those things is that, well, those are both fuels, all right? And the atmosphere has a lot of oxygen in it already. 20%, give or take. If you don't give those propellants, those gases that come from the boiling propellants, if you don't give them a place to go, if you don't give them a place to combust, they'll find a place to combust. And the place to combust is probably not what you want. Not where you want it. They're just playing B-roll, guys. The place that's going to combust is probably not where you want it to combust. Hydrogen especially. We all saw the fruits of that labor with the Hindenburg. You saw the Hindenburg, the German dirigible. That thing didn't last very long once it caught on fire because hydrogen is extraordinarily flammable. Very, very flammable. Yeah, really, it burns very efficient. That's why the Hindenburg went up in like 2 seconds. It's gruesome. It's terrible footage. You don't want to see that. Anyway, liquefied natural gas is the same way. Very, very easy. Very easy to combust because liquefied natural gas is just chains of hydrocarbons. It's just hydrogen and carbon. The clock should reset soon. Why the black smoke, though? It's probably because it's a little bit on the richer side, MotoKid, but yeah, that's fine. So yeah, those purge flames on either side, one of them is for the second stage has gas scavenging system. What's in the industry, it's called hazardous gases or has gas for short. One of them is for the second stage has gas and the other one is for the first stage has gas. The reason why they're kind of separated from each other is because, well, once again, you got to be careful with this stuff. And usually like launch pads, they keep the hydrogen away from the natural gas, which is away from the liquid oxygen. You kind of don't want to like stack them all in a row right next to each other to fuel your rocket. Because if something leaks or something goes wrong, you could have like potentially a tidal wave of liquid oxygen. Like, yeah, you don't want that. Like if it blows up, that'd be bad. Yeah, a tidal wave of cryogenic propellants would be like in Terminator 2. We don't need hasta la vista. You don't want that. So there's two different purge flames and they're on two different sides of the pad to make sure that there's no way that the second stage hazardous gas and the first stage hazardous gas are going to get anywhere near each other. Yeah, Bob, exactly. That was my thought. We've seen the fruits of that labor. SpaceX was testing Ship 36, a Starship prototype, a couple of months back, and it had a combustion event when it was full of liquid oxygen. It blew up. All of the fuel on board combined with all of the liquid oxygen, and because they were using liquid oxygen as ballast, it blew up the LOX tank, and a tidal wave of liquid oxygen destroyed the entire test site. Nobody was near it, thank God. All the equipment, though, yeah, not great. But yeah, these are purge flames. So the one that has all that black soot is probably the LNG. So there's probably the liquefied natural gas purge flame because it's burning fuel rich. Anytime you see a fire that has black soot, that means you're running very rich. So what does that mean? We're getting into what's called combustion ratios here. there is always an ideal amount of fuel and oxygen that you can connect together. That's called stoichiometry, all right? Anytime you go one way or the other, different things happen. So if you're running more oxygen and less fuel, that's called lean. That burns really, really hot because oxygen is terrible at absorbing heat. It's a really bad heat conductor. So, you know, if you like cars, the car engine leans out, something's going to melt. The other way is fuel rich. Fuel rich means it burns a little bit cooler, but it's not very efficient. It burns cooler because fuel, it could be gasoline, could be diesel fuel, could be jet fuel, could be LNG, whatever. It's made out of hydrocarbons. So that has hydrogen and carbon in it. Hydrogen and carbon are very good at absorbing heat. So that's why the temperature is lower. But when you run fuel rich, you see a lot of unburnt hydrocarbons, right? Well, it's just combustion byproducts at this point. That's how I know that that's the LNG purge flame, because this is burning. It's not burning straight hydrogen. It's not efficient. It's not efficient enough to burn hydrogen. That's why you get that soot right there. Oh, timer's back up. 32 minutes. Here we go. So compare the purge flame, which is over there somewhere. Compare that with this one. See that one right there? That one is very clear. That's what I mean about hydrogen. Hydrogen will combine everything with the liquid oxygen and it'll burn super efficient. That's why that flame looks clear, right? So that's the second stage has gas purge flame. The LNG purge flame is on the other side of the pad from this camera angle. It's over by the water tower somewhere. Timer has resumed, guys. They're out of the hold. They're still playing music. And if I call the reason Starship Super Heavy doesn't have flare stacks is because they take the gas and run them through LN2 heat exchangers to recondense them back into liquids. Yes, SpaceX scavenges their propellants. Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh, nice, Baron. There you go. So liquid oxygen killed equipment because it's super cold. Yep. Mm-hmm. Froze. Yeah, completely froze stuff. So, Bacon, the other thing is that when you... Okay, so if you douse something in liquid oxygen doesn't burn stuff, per se. It's not very flammable. It makes everything flammable, though. Because, okay, so say you light a match, right? You say you light a match. The match will start. The reason why it starts is because, in our atmosphere, the reason why that happens is our atmosphere is mostly nitrogen. It's 79% nitrogen, about 20% oxygen, 1% stuff you probably shouldn't be breathing. But the reason why you light a match and the whole world doesn't go up in flames is because of the nitrogen is kind of the nitrogen is kind of keeping that flame isolated. If you lit a match in a pure O2 environment, you would instantly combust. Yeah, not great. You play a game called Stationeers. There's a game that I play sometimes off of stream called, not off stream, on stream called Stationeers. Stationeers is a game where you can go put these theories to the test. It's a physics simulator in space. It's a good time. So yeah, that's the LNG purge flame right there. Liquefied natural gas. The hydrogen one is over there somewhere. So a tidal wave of liquid oxygen will not necessarily, I mean, it'll damage stuff because it's super cold, but it'll make everything way easier to combust. You do not need a lot of heat in a pure O2 environment to get an auto combustion. Like a spark plug. If you had like a spark plug from a car, which is like a 10,000 volt spark with like no amperage almost, if you had that in a pure O2 environment, that would be enough to make the whole, like the entire car go up in flames. Like if the car was like submerged in LOX, so you had a spark plug, bye-bye, there'd be no car left because the car would become your fuel. Yeah, physics. That's why this stuff is complicated. It's a lot of physics to manage, and it's really easy. It's very easy to screw it up. You know, that's why you got to be deliberate. You got to be slow and deliberate with this stuff. That's why they say, oh, it's not rocket science. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why. Propellants are hard to manage, especially when you need the propellants that have enough kick in the pants to go where these satellites are going. Yeah, YouTube, I didn't want to say it. We've casted enough bad juju here, but yes, that is exactly what happened during that. It was just a slight short. Mr. EJ, I love hearing you explain things in ding-dong terms. Thank you, sir. I'm just explaining it in ways that I understand. So, Sugdog, if I am a ding-dong as well, well, I will proudly wear that badge. That's fine with me. Ding-dongs of the world, unite! Atmospheric composition. Oh, yeah. Yeah, all that other stuff is stuff you probably shouldn't be breathing. Yeah, okay, that's right, weather guy. Sweet. Ding dong, high five. Yeah, right. What is the window today for New Glenn? Okay, so the window started at 2:57 and it closes at 4:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is currently 3:17 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we have about an hour and 15 minutes left in the window. Locks handling procedures involve white and super clean protective gear because if you spill locks onto anything with room temperature oil stains on it, they'll explode. Yeah, exactly. In a Pure O2 environment, even a smidgen of heat will bye-bye. That's why you got to be careful with this stuff, right? Like, yep. It's 2026. We should be using AI-based vibe stoichiometry. Well, I hate that I found that statement funny, but here we are. All right, hold up.
27 minutes and about 15 seconds to go. We are recycling and resetting the clock with a new T0 of 3:45 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, while we have a little bit of time and you see New Glenn out on the pad in all of the New Glenn glory, that rocket is, we have to talk about what is sitting in GS2, and that is ESCAPADE. Now, I actually had the opportunity and the honor to catch up with Dr. Joe Westlake to talk about solar weather effects and how that can affect satellites and what we can expect from the deployment of ESCAPADE.
Joe Westlake is the principal investigator, NASA's principal investigator on the project. Or no, he's not principal investigator. That's another guy. Listen to the NASA people. The NASA people are cool. These guys are super smart, and you'll learn something.
Really excited to be here. Really excited to see the ESCAPADE launch go up. Really, really jazzed. And heliophysics, right? So heliophysics is an interesting word. It's fascinating because, you know, one, it doesn't exist in the dictionary yet, which is really an interesting thing. We hit our slang era in heliophysics. Merriam-Webster actually just picked it up. But heliophysics is like the science of the sun and everything that it touches. So when we think about ESCAPADE, folks would say, well, like, what does heliophysics have to do with some Mars mission? Why do we care about what the sun does to Mars? Well, you know, ESCAPADE is a space weather mission. We're going out to ensure and protect the space weather effects on Mars, on our astronauts, on our spacecraft that are there at Mars. And as we saw over the last couple of days, space weather is kind of a big deal,
It certainly is. Can you kind of talk about how space weather affected our launch?
Yeah, so hopefully folks over the last couple of days got to see some really pretty, like, light...
the Aurora Borealis, as they call it.
Just incredible, right?
Stunning.
You know, we saw across the U.S., even down here at the Florida at the Space Coast.
Space Coast,
right?
yeah.
We saw red aurora sat over top of our rocket. And that's really cool. Like, that's a pretty light show. But what that really means is that the magnetosphere is kind of angry, right? It's got a lot of energetic particles that have come in from the sun, right? A coronal mass ejection came in, multiple coronal mass ejections came in from the sun, and they pushed into our magnetosphere, creating, you know, space radiation that can cause issues for our spacecraft, which, of course, you know, in the early days of any mission, they're a little bit fragile, right? It's sort of early days. We want to get the solar arrays deployed. We want to get the mission up and ready to go and safely out to Mars. And those early activities are really critical for us.
Certainly. So for people who don't know, tell me a little bit more about the heliophysics tied in to ESCAPADE.
Yeah, so, you know, when we go out to Mars, right, we're looking at
the last one was good.
Space
that was good.
Weather, how the solar wind, how these coronal mass ejections and flares impact the Martian atmosphere, how they impact Mars as a system, how they impact and change how, you know, atmospheric escape happens at Mars.
Because Mars doesn't have the same atmosphere that we do here on Earth, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's always been a big question, right? When I look at the difference between our beautiful planet here on Earth and the water and the oceans and other things, why is Mars so different, right? There's a great question that relates to how Mars's atmosphere has escaped over the years, over the decades, over the millennia. And ESCAPADE's actually going to deliver to us a better understanding of whether the atmospheric escape changes in time or changes in space, right? And so getting that feeling and getting that understanding will let us figure out how Mars has changed over its history and be able to conserve and understand how that applies to us here at Earth.
And for the first time, we have a lot of firsts, actually. So we have 2 satellites that are deploying that are going to give us information. And on top of that, this is the first time we are deploying not during the critical Mars window. We're actually going to go into kind of this like lollygagging phase just for a little bit until we hit that window. Can you kind of explain that?
So isn't that amazing? Like usually when you think about the planets aligning, right? I mean, the greatest planet alignment was when we sent the Voyagers out in the 70s, right? All the planets have aligned. We've gone and done the grand voyage, right? But as you go to Mars, every 2 years a window opens up where you can make the most efficient trip to Mars. And all that means is that Earth and Mars are in the right spot of the trajectory or the right spot of their travel every year to where you can actually get from one to the other. So once every 2 years, we line up and we make this, you know, it's like, how many Mars missions can we get off the ground in that one window?
Little window, yeah.
But one of the great things for the innovations that we're doing here with ESCAPADE today is we're actually going to send it outside of that window. We're going to send it outside of that window because we can put it into a very benign, safe parking orbit and let it sort of hang out, loiter, hang out near us here at Earth. So we can make some measurements about the space weather here around Earth, and we can prep for those spacecraft to then, with their own propulsion, get themselves out to Mars when that window opens. We always talk about how, you know, spacecraft are, frankly, the safest out in space, right? There aren't earthquakes or hurricanes or other things to worry about when they're out in space. And plus, we always love to have amazing data that come down from our spacecraft, almost no matter where they are.
Certainly. And what's interesting is we're sitting here in 2025, but this mission is really going to take, I mean, it's 5 years when you also count all the way to when we're going to get the data that starts to come back, right? So 2025, around 2027 is when ESCAPADE will actually be at Mars, and then it starts kind of being reoriented. Is that my understanding?
Yeah, we have a couple of different orbit scenarios with ESCAPADE because we have different questions.
Good, New Glenn.
Right? So one of the questions is, I want to be able to follow, have a leading following orientation of the 2 spacecraft, and I want to see how things are changing in time by doing that. But then we're also going to spread them out in longitude, so like east-west.
This is cool.
And we're going to try and fly them somewhat side by side. But then we're going to ask questions that are like, okay, what's the inside the Martian atmosphere versus the outside? And there's a lot of dynamics and other things that we can do with these, you know, really 2 very capable spacecraft that we're sending out to Mars.
And another cool thing about your job is you get to work with Dr. Nikki Fox. I was able to grab her into our webcast the other day.
Yes.
But today's a special day for her, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's a really special day. So, you know, when we talk about having rockets and lighting candles and other things, you know, this is her birthday. So we get to light a candle today. I think it's going to be really amazing to be able to,
quite the birthday candle.
Obviously, we're not going to blow it out until we get ESCAPADE up and moving, but quite the candle, and it's amazing.
Well, Glenn, let's send it off to Dr. Nikki Fox. Happy birthday, Dr. Fox, and go NG2.
Yeah, excellent. Go New Glenn, go ESCAPADE, and we're just so jazzed to be here.
And we're so grateful to have you as a customer. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So, if you didn't hear that, they're gonna
heliophysicists. Who knew? Not in
No. If you didn't hear that, if you didn't understand what he was saying, so these 2 satellites are eventually going to make their way out to Mars. They're going to be in what's called an elliptical orbit. An elliptical orbit is an orbit where the low point and the high point in the orbit are not the same altitude. In spaceflight, you can have a circular orbit, you can have an egg-shaped orbit, or you can be gone. You could be escape velocity. I mean, there's also suborbital, which means you're not going to orbit, you're going to find the ground, but that's another story. So ESCAPADE A and B are going to be in what's called an eccentric orbit. So the high point is going to be way above Mars, and the low point is going to be really close to Mars, right? And they're going to woohoo, they're going to whip around and around and around. And they're going to have one satellite in the same orbit, but just slightly behind the first one. So the first one's going to go through, and the second one's going to go through. And the first one's going to go way up here, the second one's going to follow it, and then they're just going to go through. When they get to the low point, that's when you're going the fastest because you're the furthest into a planet's gravity well, right? So that's called the periapsis. Around Mars, I don't know, I forget what it's called around Mars. Maybe it doesn't matter. The low point, right? That's the fastest point. So they're going to zip through, and one's going to follow the other so they can get stereo imaging of Mars's atmosphere. So one will go through, and the second will go right after it to confirm what the first one saw. It's basically, you have, why have one satellite when you can have two, right? They'll be able to get what's called stereo imaging of the atmosphere or whatever is floating around Mars. I wouldn't really call it an atmosphere. There's something there. It's not like ours, that's for sure. No, seriously, there is trace gases on Mars. Mars does have somewhat of an atmosphere, but I wouldn't suggest going to Mars and taking your helmet off on the surface unless, you want some total recall stuff to happen. Like, Hagen, you got to give the people the air. To give them the air. Periarion, that's what it is. It's Aries because Mars. Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you. Get your butt to Mars. So, what gases are around Mars? There's a little bit of oxygen. It's mostly CO2 that's left. The reason why is because CO2 is a higher mass gas, and the gravitational pull of Mars, because Mars does have gravitational pull, it's about 1/3 of Earth's. It pulls it in. Now, around Earth, for instance, right, we have a much denser atmosphere, like me. Anyway, we have a much denser atmosphere. Gravity holds a lot of the gases in, but Earth's magnetic field, you have the North Pole, the magnetic North Pole, and the magnetic South Pole. The same reason why if you have a compass, it always points to the north, right? The magnetic poles create a magnetic field, and the magnetic field holds a lot of the gases in. It's like it's like the air shield on planet Druidia. No, I'm not giving you the combination of the air shield. We have entered a hold at T-minus 17 minutes and 4 seconds. Did they say what caused the hold? No. It's held again. Password is 12345. That's amazing. I got the same combination on my phone. Not the compass. That doesn't point north. Really? Really? Out of all that spaceflight dreaming, that's what you got? Well, compasses don't point north. The needle on the compass. Schmuck. Really? That's what you got? That was a good explanation and you know it, all right? Give me that crap. Bring that crap in here. Anyway. By the time it launches, it will be old, Glenn. Anyway. Yeah, that cage around the flame is so birds don't fly in there. I don't think I need to tell you why you wouldn't want birds to fly into this thing. Unless you want some, like, grilled chicken or something when you turn the rocket systems on. Like, it wouldn't be fried. It'd be grilled. It'd be grilled. You know why it'd be grilled, boy? Because the byproduct coming out of this thing is propane, butane, and methane. But it's got that dang propane in it. So if it's got the propane in it, it's got the grill. That's what's going on, boy. I tell you what. Ooh, crane. So this building right here is where they actually put the rocket onto the transporter erector. The structure that's directly next to the rocket is what they put the thing on. That whole thing, this thing right here, that whole thing rolls up to the pad and then it turns upright. It turns the rocket into the vertical position. It transports, erects, and then eventually launches the rocket. That's why they call it a TE or a TEL. You just say TE. That's why they need such a big hangar, because this thing right here and that thing needs to fit inside of the hangar to put them together. What beach is that camera on? I don't think that theirs is on that far south. I'd have to look at the camera angle again, username, to see it. Port Canaveral webcam is showing a cruise ship moving. Guys, I actually talked to Das about this, and Das did a little bit of research here. If you go watch my buddies over at NSF, you probably hear this information. A cruise ship leaving Port Canaveral, believe it or not, doesn't go into the Notmar. The reason why is because directly outside of Port Canaveral, there's a huge sandbar. The Deepwater Canal for Port Canaveral actually goes south because that's where most cruise ships that leave the port go. They go south to the Caribbean. I can't imagine anybody's leaving on a cruise ship in Florida to go on a cruise to New Jersey. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. Just putting it out there. I mean, maybe you like that. Maybe that's cool. Hey, this house, Christopher Columbus, is a saint. I tell you that. He's a saint. Anyway, maybe you want to do that. Maybe you work at Waste Management. I don't know. So the cruise ships that are actually leaving, they can leave port when a rocket launch is happening because the channel for Port Canaveral actually goes south. It doesn't go into the exclusion zone. Generally, when rockets fly, for the people that don't know, there's a temporary flight restriction. There's a notice to airmen, and then there's a notice to marine traffic. Because we don't fly rockets over land. Most of our rocket launch sites, in fact, all of them, are on the coasts. So they fly out over water. So you have to have a notice to stuff in the air, notice to stuff in the water, and just basically have no boats or planes fly over there for a little while. I like Jersey for what it's worth. Jersey Shore is kind of cool. Sorry. I don't know. People are like, oh, no, you don't like Jersey. Jersey Shore is cool. Like, if you've been there, you know. Just saying, it's a pretty fun time. What is the second hold for? No word on it, no, man. You were like a brother to me, to all of us. Rick, Big P. That's right. That's right. Boats shouldn't fly there. Yep. Remember, K3, there's more planes at the bottom of the ocean than there is submarines in the air. Just saying. Just saying. As far as you know. I said it before, you weather guy. Jinx, you owe me a pop or whatever you say. Source. You may ask Grok. Gork, is this true? Subs in the air could still be non-zero, but there's still more airplanes in the ocean. Really makes you think. Grim, why don't you just say Coke or Pepsi? It's because I was making fun of the way he says soda. Soda is the right way to say it because soda is an all-encompassing term. Coke is a name. That's like calling every copy machine a Xerox machine. I just started a fight in chat. Excellent. You mean pop? Is every tissue a Kleenex? Is every hot dog a sandwich? Anyway, sorry, I'm just trying to fill dead air, dudes, to be honest with you. All right, where's this beach here? So username, this is due south. The lighthouse is in front there. That looks like it's at the south part of Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Oh, count is resumed at 1945-ish. Maybe? Question? Okay. What is a space station but a submarine in space? Space stations are like physically and mechanically like the exact opposite of a submarine, but you know, whatever. It's fine. 1917? Good movie. Okay, count has resumed. 19 minutes and 10 seconds here. Let's see. They're going to try again. Still no word on why we've had multiple holds here. Another boat? Oh, no, Cirrus. Oh no. Yeah, that sucks. Oh god, that, oh my goodness. Can't make this stuff up, dude, seriously. I hope nobody in there is getting Go Fever, because this is the kind of stuff that makes Go Fever. All right, hold up.
This is NG2. We're at L minus 18 minutes and about 40 seconds. Now, coming up at the 17-minute mark, we will have that poll for terminal count. But Ariane, right now, I want to talk about how incredible this rocket is, how unique this rocket is.
Okay, let's not. All right, so Stormtrooper, how many times can they recycle? It really depends on the capacity of what's called the tank farm. The tank farm is the fuel and oxidizer tanks that are around the pad that they use to fill the rocket up. This pad, LC-36, has pretty big capacity, so it can sit there for a little while. I'm not sure if there's any other systems on board that have like a quote-unquote shelf life, but propellant topping off is not one of them. This thing can sit here for a good minute or two. Can you please paint the boat with a laser so I can use the javelin? Or 20. So, New Glenn utilizes what's called a slow fill system. Now, don't get me wrong, just because it's a slow fill system doesn't mean that they can't do a faster fill. But the rocket is not designed to be what's called tanked fast. Tanking in space flight terms is filling the booster up with commodities. Commodities are the right way of saying liquid nitrogen, liquid oxygen, liquid hydrogen, liquefied natural gas. You get the idea. So Blue actually starts tanking the rocket. Actually, they probably started filling this thing up, I think, probably 3 to 4 hours ago. So it is a slow filling system. So that means the topping cycle is not, it's slow. So that means you got a lot of fuel in the tanks in the rocket and a lot of fuel in the tanks on the pad. And because it's a slow fill system, they could just sit there and they can have it loiter on the pad for a long period of time. Is that a Pontiac shirt you're wearing today? Nope. Close, though. I'd wear a Pontiac shirt. I like Pontiac. Timer's resumed again. 16:09 on the clock. It's upside. It is upside down, yeah. How long is the window? The launch window closes at 4:25, so we have about 50 minutes and change. Actually, no, it's closer to 45 minutes and change left in the window.
All right, guys. We have New Glenn on the pad, and the reason I have my computer in front of me is so I can tell you these great things. So we are go for terminal count at L minus 15 minutes and 30 seconds. You are watching NG2, New Glenn on the pad, the booster so appropriately named. Never tell me the odds, Ariane. And
I too have my computer in front of me, as all humans do. Ah, human music. I like it.
Sunny. And then it would be rainstorm, lightning, and then it would be sunny again. It was a lot going on. But today is a beautiful, beautiful day to fly. So as you mentioned, we're now at L minus 15 minutes to go from New Glenn's second launch. And Tabitha, you recently had the chance to chat with our CEO, Dave Limp, about NG2, today's mission, and what this mission means for science and for our company.
Yeah, you can see Kent right there on your screen. Hey, guys, giving you lots of love right here from the desk. Also thinking about our guys in Huntsville, Alabama, Van Horn, Texas, and, of course, right here in Rock.
I thought we were talking to Dave. Who's producing this?
1,000 employees here at Blue Origin, some of which you see on your screen, but also how important NG2 is to focus on for our customers.
Dave?
This is a really big moment for
Dave. All right, Dave Limp, Dave Limp.
How NG2 compares to NG1.
Yeah, I think NG1 was obviously our first mission. There was lots to learn.
No, Dave is here,
and
man.
We did learn a lot. And
Dave is here, man.
Unbelievably successful in that we made our goal, which was to get to orbit. This time we're going to be a little bit more ambitious. We want to not only get to orbit, but we have our first paying customer this time with ESCAPADE and get them off to Mars. That's the first part of our goal, and then the second part of the goal is to land the booster out on Jacqueline. And you know, if we don't, we have more over here in the factory that we're building, but we're going to give it our best shot.
Never Tell Me the Odds is pretty fitting for this booster. You know, we are taking our second attempt at landing it for the first time. How are you going to feel if we land it?
Well, I certainly will not channel my inner C-3PO. I will be very ecstatic. You know, I'll be on pins and needles up to that point, but it would be a huge achievement for the team and for Blue. I think that we have a good chance, but if we don't, like I said, we can build more, but I will be over the moon if it happens.
Now, New Glenn is obviously just one of the many systems we have here, right? We have New Shepard, we have Lunar, we have In-Space Systems. How are all of those organizations really working together to further our ultimate goals?
Yeah, I think each component
minus 13 minutes
what we do
and counting.
has a piece of trying to get millions of people to work and live in space. And, you know, they all have their individual, but as it relates to this particular mission, a huge amount of people have put work into it. Obviously, our engines team in building both the engines for the booster, the BE-4s, and the BE-3Us for the upper stage. We also have a huge amount of work by the, obviously, New Glenn team building this vehicle, but also New Shepard has been a pathfinder. So all our avionics fly on New Shepard first so that we can get a sense of what's going on there and get a sense what it's like to have flight-ready hardware. And so it takes a whole team, and it's a very big cross-functional effort across Blue.
You know, we have more than 10,000 employees here that are very excited about this moment. I'm one of them. What is your message to those who are going to be watching our webcast and be watching NG2 take to the skies?
Well, I think everybody will be a little bit on pins and needles, I'm sure. But I would say that this is a culmination of a lot of work from a lot
Clock's
of teams.
still running.
It's not the end point of our journey. Obviously, we have a lot more rockets to make and a lot more customers to make happy as we move forward. But to the extent we're successful here, I hope everybody at Team Blue takes a pause, smiles a bit, celebrates, because it'll be a great achievement for us. And we'll take that deep breath, we'll sort of embrace the moment and then move on, because we have a lot of customers waiting for us to succeed. And there's nothing that makes you happier in business and in your life when you see the smile on customers' faces.
Did you ever think that you would be doing something like this in your career when you're watching your rockets launch? No?
No, not in a million years. I was very happy making Fire TVs and Echoes, but it is a boyhood dream, and so to be able to have it, I kind of pinch myself every day and just amazed that I get to wake up and help this and lead this amazing team of people build incredible technology like New Glenn.
I mean, and in reference to that, one of the first things they ask you when you come onto Blue Origin is, what is your first memory of space? What is your first memory of space?
Yeah, I have a lot of pictures. It turned out my 3rd, 4th, and 5th birthday, I have these old Polaroids of the cake, and they all have rockets on it. I was enamored with rockets as a kid, and you know, never took the path where I thought I'd be running a rocket or a rocket company, but it turns out that it was very early in my life that I had a lot of love for it.
And we're so grateful to have you here at the helm. Dave, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm going to speed us up here real quick. See if we can get caught up. Ad time. Yep, we'll run the ad time again, dudes. We're inside of 10 minutes. Okay, we are caught up now.
Another forward, we've got another aft over here. So we've got a lot of rockets that are coming down the line, but we're just feeling pretty good about, cautiously optimistic.
Anytime there's a launch during the day, I cover it,
I'm going to lose my mind if we land this booster today. But
I don't know when the next one is.
We've got other hardware coming down the line.
Yeah, and landing the booster, it's no easy undertaking now. Our team, including myself, recently had the opportunity to spend a day at sea with our Jacqueline crew and learn more about the operation of landing and securing the booster. A live look at Jacqueline right there. Now, this is an operation and a moment that will change the course of Blue Origin history. Check it out.
The Jacqueline is that landing platform vessel where New Glenn will come down, land, and we secure it and bring it back in.
She's 380 foot long, 150 foot wide, and she's a self-propelled vessel.
Big.
We
like
are
120
the recovery side of
meters
the
by
operation.
50.
This is where GS1 is going to land, and
Pretty
actually
big.
that feather is a center point.
We have to leave 4 days before launch. We check all our equipment, and we ensure that everything is working, everything is fully functional. We transit for 300 to 400 miles, depending on how far the landing location is.
No, RJ.
And once we get there, dynamic positioning allows the thrusters on board here will hold this in position within a range of about 10 feet.
We'll have a couple small changes of Jacqueline's position. They're going to feed us new coordinates, right? So we might move 500 yards this direction, a little that way, but we're generally in the area. And right up to like 45 minutes or an hour before, that's our final position.
When the booster
I hope we
lands,
see that today.
the ROV will come out.
T-minus 8 minutes.
Once it's mated with the booster effectively, we'll start pumping high-pressure nitrogen into the booster, which will allow
That's
the
right. Well, it's
detanking
second
process
attempt,
to
Bacon.
continue to make
First
the
one
booster
didn't make
inert
it.
and safe for us to operate around.
These are the transit stands. These are what we actually use to secure GS1 to the deck. Each one of these units is individually controlled. We'll have 6 different operators operating them out under the vehicle, and then we're able to lock out the stands, which basically rigidizes GS1 to the LPV deck and allows us to bring it home.
Yeah, you got to secure it because if the barge is going to be rocking around, the rocket can tip off of
In
it.
such an isolated environment, we're hundreds of miles offshore. We're relying on satellite communication.
The one thing about working
Really?
on the ocean
What
and the
satellites are you
elements,
using?
we fight it. It never wants to work with you. The best you can do is just get along with it. I hope people understand how important reusability is to this program. Us being out here and allowing us to retrieve these vehicles and bring back and reuse them, we reduce the cost, we reduce pollution.
My favorite part of being Team Blue is how everybody
Nice,
works
Bob.
together as a very cohesive group. This is really, really rewarding just to kind of see everyone marching together towards one successful landing operation.
No, actually, there are Starlink antennas on Jacqueline, guys. They're over there. But there's also they're not just using Starlink. There's a bunch of ways.
And Ariane, I have to tell you, what was so great about going out with that team is, of course, they go out for days, sometimes weeks, sometimes a multitude of weeks at a time.
What are in the buildings on either side? They just said what's in the buildings on either side. It's the recovery equipment and power generation systems, dude, and propulsion.
Bringing a first stage back to Earth.
Well, let me just start with the basics. You have a 200-foot tall tower that has just been 120 kilometers up, and we're trying to hit a 150-foot by about 400-foot boat.
Did she just mix metric and imperial?
Out there, and then the landing pad, as you see, is even smaller than that. Fun fact, the
Yeah, 200 foot tall, 600 kilometers up. Okay.
So you've got this huge 200-foot tall tower that's coming in. We're going to slow it down.
I'm just getting us caught up.
With first a reentry burn, then we're going to do another burn to slow it down, and then we're just with 3 engines, then shut it down to just 1 engine. Right. And it will. We do have throttling capability on the first stage, and it'll come in for a nice soft landing, because if you think about it, it was full of fuel on the way up. When it comes down, it's essentially an empty fuel tank. So while it is heavy and very tall here,
there's those engines right
the
there.
7 BE4 engines, and the center engine is the one that's going to be doing all the hard work.
Bleed valves are open on the
as it comes in
engines.
just in the last seconds.
That's
there.
to get them
and so you
to
don't
operating
need as much
temperature.
power. We can pull back on the power for a nice soft landing. And when we do, it will be an
This is a good sign.
extraordinary day. But we've talked about it. This is just the beginning.
It really is.
We will bring this rocket back. We'll refurbish it. We'll examine it. We've got all sorts of thoughts on what we're going to
7
need
meter
to do
diameter
to
on this
refurbish the
thing.
vehicle.
It's a big
But
rocket.
Our whole
Like-
game plan, launch, land,
I know we're having a good time here. We're having some fun. In all seriousness, New Glenn is a gigantic freaking rocket. 7 meter core diameter. So that's 22 feet wide, 22, 23 feet wide. It's almost as tall as a Saturn V, so it's approaching 300 feet tall, which, once again, for the metric people, it's 100 meters. It is a big, big, big rocket. Yeah, this is going to be the New Glenn GS1 is going to be one of the biggest things coming back down from space. This rocket cannot be understated how gigantic and how powerful it actually is. Inside of 4 minutes, guys. It is pretty cool, and I really hope we get to see this thing land today. How about compared to a Saturn 1, Saturn 1B? It's a Saturn 1B would be like right here. Actually, maybe like right here. I did run ads again. Yep. It is 322 feet. Yeah, so it's about 100 meters tall. I think that's like 98 meters. 99 meters, something like that. So 7-meter diameter, 98-meter tall. It's big. It's a big rocket. And when this thing goes, it's going to go, dude. One of the first things you'll see is the pad deluge system down in the trench turn on.
Here. We're
and then the suppressors.
You're going to launch
these things.
This vehicle.
Okay, all right. These things right here, those are the sound suppression systems. So the pad deluge will activate first. Sound suppressors will activate after that. And then this thing will get ignition, and then she'll go, Jeb willing. Inside of 3 minutes, guys.
Cycle on this vehicle.
It'll be faster this time,
Sam. Fly today, Tabitha.
Oh, there are the cheers. Yes, the energy is palpable. Our launch director, Megan Lewis, she's in the control room now.
At least I still have control over the communication channels. I leave home for a couple of days, and this is what happens. What's its purpose? It passes butter. What's the cross range of stage 1 compared to the shuttle? We're talking about different re-entry trajectories there, K3. This is to have that New Glenn stage. It's like what we do in KSP. We want the stage. You ideally want your first stage inside of 2 minutes. I'm going to do this explanation quickly. You ideally want your first stage to spend more time in the atmosphere because then it slows down. It's much more likely to reach terminal velocity. So those wings are there. So New Glenn flies a shallow trajectory down towards landing. The other thing is because it's using LNG, it has a much longer burn time. New Glenn's first stage is going a lot faster and going a lot higher than we'd see from a Kerolox rocket, for instance. Okay, cool. Those are the reasons why the wings are there. It does have more cross range, but it's more about flying down inside of 90 seconds.
In Cocoa Beach.
Now we've transitioned from ground power to the vehicle's own internal power. I mean, we are getting close. Aria, hold my hand. I'm getting really excited.
It's not an RTLS. It does a downrange landing.
7 of them.
It's not very likely that you're going to get an RTLS with New Glenn unless the payload is really, really light. The reason why is because that liquefied natural gas has you have a much longer burn time because you're swapping specific impulse for TWR within this particular case. We're inside of 1 minute here. These types of propellants are going to afford you a higher specific impulse using LNG and LOX. So the burn time on the first stage is going to be a lot longer, similar to like a Delta IV or Vulcan or Atlas. 40 seconds.
I love hearing all those sounds.
You hear the power up.
You certainly do.
And with that,
you'll see that water any second
T-minus
now.
30 seconds.
Let's turn it over to launch control.
All right, guys.
Let's
see.
go, New
Flight
Glenn.
2.
GS1 hydraulics internal.
Never tell me
GS1
the
at
odds.
flight level. GS2 at flight level. Autopilot enabled.
Guidance is internal. T-minus 10.
T-minus 10. 9.
Sound suppression pad deluge system is on. Do not pipe in crowd audio.
3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Lift up.
Okay, there's ignition. She's going. We got 7 good engines. Lift off. NG2 carrying NASA's ESCAPADE mission to Mars. Oh, it's beautiful. That's beautiful. Look at that thing. Man.
Engine operating parameters continue with good at full thrust. Body weight response to nominal. 40 seconds in. End of low stretch now level. 50 seconds into flight. Continue to see good engine operating parameters. All set for
clean burn. We're coming up here on max Q, maximum dynamic pressure. This is the hardest point on the vehicle when it comes to the
Everything looks good here, guys. I'm not seeing anything
we
weird.
want to see
Engine
this
operating
rocket
parameters
punch
continue to look
through
good.
that max
Seeing
fuel
good
standby.
TBC control, good MR control. 1 minute, 15 seconds in.
Should get a call for supersonic here in a moment. Dude, look at that. Oh, that's beautiful.
Now passing Mach 1, New Glenn is now supersonic.
Supersonic!
Something came off there. I think it's just ice, though. It's hitting the wing, though.
Continue to look good at full thrust. Max Q, maximum dynamic pressure.
There's maximum dynamic pressure. That's peak aerodynamic induced compression load on the vehicle. Engines are usually throttled during this period to prevent the rocket from compressing too hard. That's a big milestone in the flight.
Seeing good control on MR and TBC.
Thrust vector control reports good from mission control. Thrust looks good too. I'm trying to listen to what they're saying over the crowd. Oh, that's killer, man. Look at that thing fly. That is great.
1 minute remaining boost phase.
All right, 1 minute remaining in boost phase. You heard our team say. Then we'll hit MECO, main engine cutoff. That's going to lead to a sequence of events. We will separate the first stage from the second, and that's when the first stage is going to begin.
Staging is going to be a lot further downrange. This is when most kerosene-based rockets first stages stage. This thing's going to go a lot further. Like I said, you're going to get a higher specific impulse, which means the liquefied natural gas are going to burn a lot more efficiently, so you're going to get a much higher staging velocity and a much higher staging time.
Quality.
All 7 engines continue
Looking
to look
nominal. Next up, MECO, which is main engine cutoff.
3 minutes
The
in.
cheers are real. You can hear them all the way in here.
And we have MECO.
7 engine shutdown. Purge out looks good.
Good stage set.
Come on, baby. We got good telemetry on the stage. The video is delayed.
On stage 2, both engine parameters look good.
Oh, you see the 2 rockets there?
That's awesome. Oh. Whoa. Whoa. Stage 2 encountered a huge pitch rate there.
Engines look good at the high thrust set point. Body rate responses look good. 3 minutes.
I don't know if that's normal or not.
Look at that view.
Fairing separation.
Of payload fairing jettison. Both the E3U engines continue to look good.
Okay, that was induced. It was on purpose. Let's see how it's moving. The second stage went like that. The fairings do wobble during separation. That's okay.
And you saw their spectacular view from down from our GS2.
Continue to look good. This is a 9.5 minute
I'm going to switch over here so we can see the second stage telemetry.
25 seconds into flight.
That's a shot of the first stage. The first stage is just going to coast here for a second. That was a huge pitch rate, guys. That's a big stage to be doing something like that.
First stage to touchdown on
the reason. So what did I see there? That's called a high pitch rate. All right. So what does it mean? It means it nosed up real quick and then separated the fairing. Now, generally, guys, this rocket's huge. Okay, it's a big freaking rocket. You generally don't see that fast of a pitch up from this. A good analogy would be like you don't fly a 747 like you'd fly an F-22. If you saw a 747 nose up and Cobra like an F-22, you'd be like, that's probably not normal, right? That is a huge stage to be pitching like that. I don't know if that was induced, but it did seem okay.
The NASA ESCAPADE satellites are exposed to space right now, and we've got GS1 coming down for landing at T+9
It's not going to the same orbit, spoiled. That's the thing. I don't know if that pitch rate is normal or not. I'm pretty sure it is. I mean, the stage is still accelerating, so they're still getting thrust from it, but the altitude is not going up very high. And they're calling all systems good, so...
Can you see good data coming down from both GS1 and GS2?
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. They're getting good telemetry from both, meaning that it's nominal, meaning that it's flying the way that they want. within reason. So that's what nominal
Everything
means. It's good
looking
enough.
Good, looking nominal.
Seeing good.
It is a
Mario,
big
this
second
moment
stage,
coming up is an
Eureka.
important one.
GS2 is
We're going
gigantic.
to- We're going to relight the BE4 engines for the re-entry
Body rate's
burn.
nulling out on GS1. The exo turn is complete.
Okay, so
There
they
you
said
go.
nulling
It's
body
about
rates. What they're trying to do is
300,000
settle the propellants in the
less
bottom of
than
the
100
booster because it's kind of
kilometers
flying
up
right
there
now,
coming
so all
in
the propellants
for
go
landing
everywhere
on the Jacqueline,
inside of the tanks.
375 miles offshore.
So they're going to try to settle the propellants to get the propellants to go to the bottom of the tank so they can feed into the engines correctly when they do their deceleration burn.
Jacqueline.
All right, here we go. Should get an engine ignition.
Continue to see body rates on GS1.
3 engines.
That looks great. We have our booster re-entry burn. All 3 engines.
That is past the milestone of Flight 1. This is they're further than Flight 1.
Good day. This is further than we made it.
Oh,
on
that's
NG1.
sick. What a shot.
The indication of engine ignition on GS1. Continue to see good data from GS1.
Wow. That's beautiful.
About a minute and a half
Engine parameters look good.
is when we would see.
Confirm engine cutoff.
Never
Dude,
tell
you
me
gotta be
odds.
kidding me. Look at it. She's
Return
flying, baby. Look at that thing.
Earth.
That is a huge rocket.
You see it in
7 minutes,
kind
40
of
seconds into
horizontal
flight.
position. We've got the strakes on the base of the booster, which give it lift. So it's
Dude,
basically
you can see the
fly
fins
this
moving. Dude, she's
booster
flying. That's
using the
excellent.
fins
Great.
as well, plus some of our reaction control system to, as well as the gimbling on the
now passing
BE4
30% max
engines
Q.
to turn
8 minutes
the rocket
into flight.
accordingly. On here, it starts to
T
tilt
plus 8
down.
minutes.
1 minute to go.
GS1 system.
It is like that.
Continue to
Tate,
look good.
isn't that cool? What a shot. Now, the stage is still 20,000 feet up,
Look good.
going about 1,600 kilometers an hour. She's still booking.
8 minutes, 20 seconds into flight.
Oh. You're getting some vapor cones on the booster there.
And we have landing burn ignition. See 3 good engines.
All right, I'm going to move over here so we can see the telemetry. Okay, engines are on. We got 3 good ones for landing ignition.
Of course, those quads are there.
8 minutes, 43 seconds into flight.
Sonic booms.
Deployed.
Where's the drone ship?
Now down to the
Great
landing
shot
burn.
from our booster.
Standing by for touchdown.
Landing legs have deployed. Come on, baby. Nope. No good. She's in the water.
Standing by for touchdown.
Oh, wait. Oh, corrected. Oh, that's badass. Corrected. Oh, that's sick. That's cool, man. Wow. Did you see the charges go off? It just welded itself to the deck.
Continuing to explain burn.
Huge milestone. Oh, that's badass, dude. That was great. Freaking terrific. The cheers are warranted now. That was awesome. Look at that damn thing. Holy shnikes.
Right down the middle of the racetrack. 10 minutes, 15 seconds.
Impressive. Most impressive. Dude, I thought that was in the drink. I thought it was in the drink. So if the drone ship is here, that thing came down and it hovered for a second and then moved. It slewed onto the drone ship. That's badass, dude. That's pretty good, man. That's pretty good. That is a big thing to do that with.
Parameters look good.
Pretty good.
GS2 is now 1,600 kilometers downrange, traveling at 5.9 kilometers per second.
On the right-hand side,
I've never been happier to be
On
wrong.
the left-hand side, you have our
Less
and
than
blend
2 minutes
booster.
now remaining to
Never
Chico.
tell me the odds. Right there on the Jacqueline in the
Wow.
middle of that feather. Absolutely incredible.
Dude, that thing is like dead center
Congratulations,
too.
guys.
That's real good, man.
A landed orbital rocket.
Yeah, reindeer.
What an incredible
Looks good.
day for Blue Origin. For the space
No, it
industry.
hovered, Cibex. Yeah, it hovered and corrected, like what New Shepard does. Go with what you know, dude. Go with what you know. I said that 11 months ago during the first flight. Like, you're gonna go with what you know. If this, I said that when this thing comes down and lands, if it gets over the drone ship, Blue will probably land it. You know? Because they have tons of landing experience with New Shepard. And the hardware doesn't necessarily transfer it over. The guidance system and software absolutely does. It's the same idea, it's still physics.
On a nominal path.
And man, I said if they got it near the drone ship, it's going. And it went, dude. That was freaking cool. I thought it was in the drink. I thought it did an avoidance, but no, it compensated and then slewed onto the ship. That's really cool, man. Really trick guidance system. That's good stuff.
Oh, this is space. I'm in space.
Tape, give the 10 subs.
Give it back to us.
Yeah, see? It slewed onto the ship. Second stage losing altitude is because of the hydrolocks. Holy balls.
Look at that.
It's pretty good. Pretty good, man.
Standing by for Chico 1 shortly.
Land.
So they're going to come up on second stage engine cutoff here. The reason why the stage is losing altitude is because of the engines. The engines are relatively low thrust to weight comparatively to the size of the stage. So what they do is they lob the thing and it goes up and then it comes back down. But where you lack in thrust from the hydrogen engines, you make up for in efficiency. So you get a longer burn. There's Seco. You get a longer burn and you might sink a little bit. Totally normal. That's fine.
Right down the track.
Damping out nicely.
Currently in the
Shut down
coast
train.
We have one for two so far on our two objectives for our second
Tank pressure
mission
control continues to
of
look
New
good.
Glenn. We have landed the booster for the first time.
That second stage will be disposed of on orbit, Robin.
In about 20 minutes here, we are going to separate the blue and gold.
Very low
satellites of
altitude.
NASA's
So you guys got to remember that this is in freedom units. This is the units that I understand. It's not in kilometers. It's a 160 kilometer circular orbit. Well, actually, 16,672 is a little bit slow. I'm not sure if that number is actual telemetry or not. So we're at 160 kilometers at a give or take. I mean, ooh, that's 25,700 kilometers. That's actually slow. Yeah, that's too slow. It would be one thing if the engine was still firing, but we'd be seeing an acceleration. $26,818. It's close. They were talking about a planned coast phase. The altitude is going down past Seco, so they're past apogee, which means the perigee is below 160. Ooh. So, okay, fellas, that could be induced. It could be on purpose. Probably a final burn for a correction. Graham, let me tell you this right now. If that next burn really needs to happen, looking at these, okay, so I'm doing nerd stuff and looking at those numbers and kind of seeing how the orbit is here. Honestly, that's a barely positive perigee. That's it's, I mean, the speed isn't decreasing though. But then again, we haven't seen, it may have gone over the hill. We may be out of tracking, so we don't know if these numbers are right. The apogee would be in 30, perigee or apogee would be in 30 minutes here. Dude, that first stage, oh, that's so cool. That's awesome, man. I'm so happy somebody else has done it, dude. Like, not because I like Blue or SpaceX. I like all rockets. I don't really care. Rockets are cool. I don't care. Like any company that launches is sick. It's just because this is a huge step. We have more people that are reusing stuff, which is great. That's huge. Really good. Second stage, they call the coast. Yeah, okay. Guys, what's most likely going on is because it's out in the middle of the ocean. They probably don't have a track on it. So these numbers are not updating. If they're not updating, yeah, it's going to look strange. I don't know, Custard, maybe. Remember, the WB-57 was supposedly out there for landing. Hopefully it got some good footage. Are they going to reuse it? I would probably want to take this New Glenn stage apart to look at it and inspect it, Flavia, but they'll probably use it again.
That's right. So far, on its way.
15 seconds.
From those numbers, a 912-kilometer perigee. 912, huh? It went back up to 100. How are you deriving a 900-kilometer perigee from that? This number would be a lot higher.
Or we're going to have SECO 2, which is that second stage engine cutoff. And then, of course, at the T plus 33-minute mark, and that's when we finally get to see ESCAPADE deploy. They're going to deploy and separate at about 30 seconds apart. First blue separation and then gold separation. And finally, as you mentioned, Ariane, we will have at
minus 912, negative perigee. Oh, okay, yeah. Did you say negative, Sea Kraken? I missed it. Minus 912. Oh, I thought it was a tilde. I thought you put a tilde there. Yeah. Like I said, dudes, that is suborbital. It's a negative perigee, meaning that she's not in orbit. Those numbers are too slow. That's what I mean about ground tracking stations and stuff. I really hope those numbers are right or are wrong. So when the stage goes out to sea, you'd be surprised. Like you'd think like, oh, don't we have a satellite to track it? You most rely on ground stations because it's a little bit cheaper. Oh, she's rocking.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Play the Planet. Hey, 46-month resub. Thank you. Was it faster at liftoff than before? Yes, it was a little bit faster. Dude, the NSF shove is epic. Yeah, no doubt, man. There's a stage 2 reignition at T plus 25 minutes. Lala and Tom sent you. Oh, cool, CJ. Right on.
Discovery.
Yeah, fellas, that's still a little bit of underperformance. I mean, the reason, like I said, I hope those numbers are wrong. Because, all right, so nerd stuff here for a second. In an orbit, you have two kind of, well, there's a bunch of different characteristics that define orbits. One of them that gets tossed, or some of them that get tossed around the most is apogee and perigee, or apoapsis and periapsis. What those indicate, what an apoapsis and periapsis indicate in an orbit is the highest and lowest point in an orbit. Now, orbits can be circular, so your AP and your PE can be equal to each other. If they are equal to each other, your what's called orbital eccentricity is 0, meaning you're in a perfect circle. Okay? Now, a negative perigee means that Earth's going to pull this thing back in. Like I said, I hope those numbers are wrong. That means Earth is going to pull it in. And because we're rocket nerds here, if you're unfamiliar with what we do, we can derive orbital, like from its altitude and speed, we can figure out what type of orbit it's in. And I looked at those numbers are slow. And once again, I really, really hope those are wrong, because if those numbers are right, it's going to re-enter. Your perigee, which is the lowest point in your orbit, is in the ground right now. Not great. And while there is another burn here for a second, right? If the stage did what's called underperforming at this point in the flight, that means she's going to be at a much lower altitude. Much lower altitude means more atmospheric drag to deal with. That could be, now, fellas, we haven't seen a lot of New Glenn launches. That could be okay. That could be normal. That could be their flight trajectory. They're probably taking that into account. Another thing to consider, the two ESCAPADE satellites that are on board are very small. They're really tiny satellites for New Glenn. They looked ridiculous inside of the fairing, right? The fairing is, you could fit 4 school buses inside of the fairing, like, you know, stacked next to each other inside of the thing. The little ESCAPADE satellites are about the size of a refrigerator. They're tiny. So this could be induced. The reason why it could be induced is because they have what's called the thrust to weight to be able to get it done. They could have lobbed it on this trajectory on purpose. Now, I'm not sure why you would do that. If anything, you're taking a superb efficiency hit. However, you could be putting it into this type of trajectory to do a type of insertion that collects the second stage in the atmosphere after the mission is done. A lot of rockets do that. If they wait to burn at perigee, or at least at a lower point than initial insertion, right? And they speed up there, right? They could put themselves into a type of an orbit where the second stage goes, it deploys the satellites, and then you got to dispose of it somehow. It will eventually come back, and if your perigee, lowest point in the orbit, is below 160 kilometers, or about 100 miles, what's going to happen is every time it goes by Earth, every time it passes through perigee, it's going to hit the atmosphere, and it'll cause a little bit of reentry heating. But what that will eventually do is slow the stage down, and slow the stage down, and slow it down, and slow it down again until it eventually burns up.
Booster of New Glenn, the stars, all more than 10,000 employees here at Blue Origin. If you guys aren't as in shock as I am, I just...
Jonathan McDowell talks about if the miles are statute or nautical. If the latest then orbit is 160 by 400.
In the minutes, there they are.
There's the team. That's Kent Washington.
So, okay, here's the thing. Your altitude is going up and your speed is going slightly down. So, altitude going up, speed going down. You're trading potential for kinetic energy, but you're not seeing a high delta in altitude increase. Meaning that it's circular, but once again, those numbers are quite slow. The telemetry could be correct now. It's very clear that these numbers are updating, but if you see your speed slightly going down, your altitude slightly going up, that means the rocket is coasting up to its apogee, to its highest point. Now, 400, you know, if Jonathan McDowell, who's I trust him. If he says that, he's fine. He's the orbital police, man. If he says that, you should, if its initial insertion was 160 by 400, I mean, once again, that's really not an opportune time to burn. 25 plus burn would be burning on your ascending node, which is, or no, it would be burning on the descending node because it launched from the Cape. 1 minute 44 seconds, second stage engine burn at T plus 25. I'm pretty sure I figured it out. Stage 2 velocity is ground speed. If you add Earth's rotational speed to it, you get a normal seemingly orbital velocity. That's a good point, Bill. Yeah. Oh, don't... I swear if they're using ground speed. That sounds right, dude. We should be getting to relight here.
Roar, this elation. But today, as Eddie said...
So when they fire this engine again, you're going to start seeing it accelerate like crazy.
In the sense that
pressures look good.
Good call on relight.
To space and to be able to reuse this booster is opening a new chapter for Blue Origin. It's opening a new chapter for the space industry. It's opening a new chapter for...
Okay, if they're using ground speed, Bill Kerman, I think you're right. If they're using ground speed... Oh, we lost telemetry again.
Whether it's NASA, whether it's our friends at Amazon Kuiper that have signed up.
It updated.
Whether it's Viasat. We want to be able to share this with the world.
If they're using ground speed, everything is fine. Yeah, if they're using ground speed, that's not slow at all. If they're using ground speed, 160 by 400 makes perfect sense.
Assets, and he
And
as
that
an
seems to be
investor,
what's going
he's
on.
seen so many companies that have come to him and said, well, that's nice, but all of these organizations die on the vine unless you can reduce the cost of accessing space.
So what I'm not listening to the commentators. I'm listening to the guy in the background that's making the mission calls. That's the guy you want to listen to.
Cannot wait to see what this rocket looks like when we bring her back into port in just a couple of days. Bring her back to our integration facility and get a look at this beautiful rocket. What a day.
And as we take a look at GS2, right now we are approaching SECO 2, which is second engine cutoff.
And we have SECO. Good
SECO is confirmed. So we have a map for you on your screen, but soon we should be back and able to communicate with our ground stations, and we would have a picture for you. Right now, we are under 10 minutes until we're able to deploy ESCAPADE. And if we do that, I mean, what a birthday gift.
23,656. That's not fast enough to get to L1, but the satellites will probably pick up the slack from there. The satellites have thrusters on board, so yeah, see, altitude. So see, now you can tell that the orbit is a little bit more eccentric. The reason why you can tell it's more eccentric here, because you look at our velocity is going down like crazy, but the altitude is going up like crazy, which means we're not in a circular orbit anymore, which means we're in a very elliptical orbit, meaning our eccentricity is somewhere between 0 and 1. If I had to guess, it's probably like 0.5 eccentricity. That's for the nerds. I mean, you have to wait for the real nerds to come and say it, but so yeah, long story short, everything looks good here. This is fine. Yeah, great. Good job. That's huge. Hokey, I think they did that insertion burn with the 160 perigee on purpose for second stage disposal. That's my guess at this point. Dude, that was throwing me. I was like, that's not orbital at all. But once again, I don't have Blue's numbers in front of me. We have that, which is giving us a call in miles an hour. And I don't mind miles an hour. I like freedom units, okay? But honestly, miles an hour is not the right unit of measurement for rockets. Neither is kilometers an hour. If we want to be real technical here, because how spacecraft navigate is derived from nautical terms and nautical uses, knots and nautical miles would be your correct measurement. That's right. Yeah, a lot of people didn't like hearing that.
This big step that you've mentioned toward making space more accessible, and I know there's future.
I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but how orbits are defined, use geocentric equatorial coordinate. Use the geocentric equatorial coordinate system. You're using latitude and longitude to define orbits. It's one of the characteristic of orbital parameters, longitude of ascending node. If you're using longitude and latitude, nautical miles is your unit of measurement for speed.
My husband, who has my
distance, it'd be nautical miles an hour.
Watching this, and I'll tell you, my 3-year-old, she doesn't. She just thinks that our rocket launches and lands.
Oh yeah, that's all she's ever known.
That's all she has ever known. So to be able to show her this live.
Now passing 30 minutes into
I'm
flight.
super proud of being part of this team. I always have. And
yeah, Aitor, I said that too. I don't need to check Scott's tweet. I know what that is. They talked about it
Eddie,
in the first
you've been
webcast.
Here along with me for 11 years. How do you feel?
Well, no, congratulations.
Spaceflight is an extension of aviation. Knots make the most sense. Planes use, hey, an INS on a plane, Nader, uses longitude and latitude. Knots are what make the most sense for spaceships and nautical miles. People are not going to hear that. People don't be meters a second. Technically, it would be, knots per second. But hey, whatever. I don't mind miles an hour. I don't mind kph. I don't care. To be very truthful with you guys, I don't care about the measuring system. It could be miles an hour. It could be kilometers an hour. It could be bowling alleys per cubit. I don't care. Mixing the systems is what is is what gets that's what gets me. That's what gets me. Don't say it's 100 kilometers from here and we're going 60 miles an hour. I would don't do that. That's what gets me.
20 seconds down, and in the
Here's a shot of the two satellites on either side here. That's Escapade, the two Escapade satellites.
Spirits are high, and they're going to continue. I can't wait to talk to you after this webcast, give you a high five, but you're looking at a live look. This is Escapade in space, the twin spacecrafts that will be heading to Mars in 2027 for the first time ever. 2 spacecraft.
Stones per fortnight. Let's go. As long as everybody uses the same system for the project that you're working on, I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with any system.
Mars window because
it's when you mix them, that's when bad stuff happens. Dude, look at that thing, man.
Here at Blue Origin. Again, there's a live look at the Jacqueline, the booster, so aptly named. Never tell me the odds.
Define what a knot is? Nautical miles are the difference between degrees in longitude and latitude. Nautical miles an hour is how many degrees of latitude you're going every hour. So like if you took longitude and latitude and overlaid them as a grid, 1 nautical mile would be the difference between your lines.
Laterally, so first the blue satellite.
She's flying over Africa right now.
Later,
the feet weld themselves to the deck. Yep.
We also have the Viasat tech demonstrator at 38 minutes into launch that will also turn on.
Bananas this measurement. Kilofeet per parsec. Yep. Pick your measuring system that you like. As long as the project that you're managing everybody uses the same system, we're good. You mix systems. That historically has not ended well for spaceships.
2 will hopefully be coming to fruition.
It was, Bro Handy. It fired off a bunch of charges. It looks like a bunch of gunshots going off on the landing legs. I called it right when I saw it. They did talk about that, guys. I don't know. They didn't talk about it this time for this cast. On attempt number 1 or attempt number 2, they didn't talk about it. They did talk about it during the New Glenn cast. I think it was the first attempt webcast back in January. Well, the first launch back in January. And then there's the patent for it, Deborah.
Of Escapade Blue spacecraft separation.
All right, watch the silver.
Go blue. Second payload coming up, as we mentioned. Just about a couple of seconds more here.
Standing by for spacecraft 2 set.
Okay, 1 separated.
Oh, beautiful live
shot. This right here is a decoupler and a payload attachment fitting. Watch.
And gold has separated.
Yep, there. You didn't really get a good shot of it, but
Congratulations,
there it goes, man.
Escapade.
Hey, hats off to Blue, dude. Hats off to Blue. That's awesome. Pretty damn good, man. Pretty damn good for a second try. Good job. Good freaking job. There's the stage safing mechanism right there.
That is securing.
Freaking nice job, man. That's impressive. Watch, this thing is it's gonna turn and it's gonna go towards the stage and it's gonna extend a little thingamajig and it's gonna put the thingamajig into the side of the booster. Yes, those are technical terms.
There are no people on the Jacqueline right now. It's just that robotic vehicle that is going around the rocket, making sure that we definitely
We're safing the vehicle.
We're safing the vehicle and making sure that those landing legs
yes,
are,
like
are
R2, yes.
down.
That's exactly what it's going to do.
The seas are nice and calm today. It was a rough ride the last couple of days out there. But of course,
so what that robot is doing is it's going to attach itself. Watch, it's got a little reciprocating dingle arm on the end there. It's going to attach itself to, well, to speak in kind of simpler terms, it's going to attach to the technical term would be the umbilical carrier plate. Okay, what that is the gas cap. That's the gas. It's the avenue in which they fill up the booster with liquid oxygen and liquefied natural gas. What that thing is going to do is it's going to go up and plug into that. It provides power for the booster, and it helps. The power helps safe the systems on board. When you have a live rocket with fuel in the tank, You generally don't want to be anywhere near it, except if you're on top of it, especially when stuff is changing. If a rocket is sitting on the pad fully fueled with the topping systems working, with the whole ground loop topping system, super safe. That's no problem. It's when you're fueling it and when you're unfueling it, or if you have propellants boiling in it. That's a live vehicle. There's a lot of things on there that can explode, that like to explode. And ideally, you want to see those things that like to explode come out the bottom, and we did, which is great. That thing is going to go up there and give the thing power to make sure that the thing is safe to approach. It's basically, it's what's called a safing vehicle.
But of course, there are other organizations.
No, Nick, everything is good, man. This mission went 100%, dude. Their numbers were a little bit off because they were dinkling around with ground speed, which really threw me for a loop. I thought she was suborbital. I was like, well, that's done. And dude, I thought the first stage was going to crash too, but they got it, man. They landed that thing. That's damn impressive. I've never been happier to be wrong, dude. Like, no shame. I got told, and I'm here for it, man. That's fine. This is great, dude.
You trusted our team. You trusted our method.
It's not Blue's version of Octograbber spoiled. No, not necessarily. The landing legs welding themselves to the deck are what's holding that stage there. This is a safing vehicle. Octograbber holds Falcon 9 to the deck and also does the safing procedures, right? That thing is just for safing. Dude, that booster is not moving. It's part of the ship now. If you look at these little things on the ends of the legs, those are, well, it's basically a spot welder on the end of the legs, and it zapped itself to the deck right after it landed to secure it in place. So if there is some type of rough sea or the thing's rocking back and forth, the booster won't tip over and fall. They called nominal orbit, and they separated the satellites, Dean. We are good to go. No problem, Chutch. That was great, dude. Fantastic. I'm so happy for Blue. I was getting a little worried there for a little while. You know?
We're gonna feel it.
Yeah, Web dude. Fueling and defueling and safing procedures. I don't want to be anywhere near this damn thing when any of that's going on. The only time I would want to be near it is if I'm on top of it with a launch escape system armed. You know, booster fueling is a very, very complicated process, and if you're not careful, it generally is like playing Minesweeper. Unless you're not very careful and methodical, it'll result in an explosion, which is why you don't want people near it when you go to fuel it up usually, or defuel it in this particular case. But yeah, no, I don't think any of that's going to happen here. This is great. That thing's good to go.
On the Jacqueline and get ready to bring it back here to Cape
It's on the ship,
And
Supercraft.
I mentioned
It's a beast, man.
Oh wait, I just heard CSP has powered on, Viasat has powered on, it has made connection. That's a bonus. That's 3 for 3.
3 for 3. A great day for
You would
our
never know
customers,
that you messed
and
up.
that is
Yep.
really,
EJ
really
short of the
important.
landing. Cool.
And
Thanks,
you
drummer.
see we've talked about our robot
Dude, I
vehicle
thought,
that is
dude,
down
I
there,
thought,
right?
I thought she was in the, I thought she went in the drink. I thought she went in the drink. I knew that they would do a hover, right? But I didn't think it would hover and slew. That's impressive, dude. That's some impressive guidance, navigation, and control. Whoever wrote the software for the autopilot for this thing really knows what they're doing. That's some real high level stuff. It's not easy to make that thing do that. New Glenn's first stage is gigantic. I mean, I don't know. Do we know it's 7-meter diameter? It's got to be what, 50, 60 meters tall? I'd say about 50, maybe. That is a huge, huge vehicle to be able to sit there and then slew and then land on the drone ship. That's insane.
Of today's mission.
Yeah.
We not only met our mission objectives today, we exceeded them.
Drummer, I'm gonna have to say that it's planned, dude, because that's how New Shepard lands. I just didn't, dude. It's a lot harder to do a New Shepard style landing with a booster that freaking big. I mean, granted, you do have momentum on your side, and that favors your guidance system, but because the moment of inertia of a booster that size is just, it's so ridiculously large. It does help kind of in your favor, but hovering that dang thing and having it stable and then just whoop, That slew is impressive. That's really hard to do.
Our payloads into orbit. We safely delivered the payloads. And then, of course,
maybe don't put your
we
hand
had
like that.
The first booster landing ever of New Glenn.
Oh, what happened? Did something happen today?
Yeah, we had there's that
something?
thing that happened. New Glenn came back for the first time ever. These are just incredible feats of engineering.
Steven,
it is
threw me for
very
one. Janet, I
hard to
can't.
do. I think by now we kind of.
Are they stealing my lines? I literally just said that.
My child thinks that it's normal, but it is so difficult when you're trying to land. And now the next step, the next critical step for our team here will be to get that booster back, look and see how it's performed, and of course, do the refurbishment on it, because we are going to fly that booster again.
Absolutely. That was just round one. And of course, Ariane, I just have to tell you for a moment, it's been an honor to have you.
Now, guys, here's the thing. I'm cringy, but I acknowledge that I'm cringy. All right? We are not the same. Okay?
Every important moment here. I mean, you were just the legend herself. So thank you. And I'm so grateful I got to share this moment with you, holding your hand.
They're going right into testing. Yes, like I said, they'll probably take this thing a little bit apart and inspect it, but she's probably got another mission manifested, guys. That's waterfall style testing. That's the benefit of this. Blue does not use iterative testing like SpaceX. It's very, this is what we need to make. We're going to do everything that we can to get to that point, right? And then once we're at that point and we achieve it, now we have an operational vehicle. That is that's a much, that is a more heritage way of engineering. That doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. The Saturn V was engineered this way. It worked. It worked pretty damn well, actually. That's correct, event dudes. Yes. Yeah, that's the benefit. That's what I mean when I was saying about I don't want Blue speeding up. I don't want them speeding up. Just keep step by step ferociously. Just keep doing what you're doing, because you see amazing stuff like this happen. Isn't that, dude? What a freaking dude! That thing is that. Like I said, dude, that thing's massive. It's a huge booster. It's a huge booster to land.
Mars today. We're going to Moon. The Moon is a team. We're also going payloads to Mars. You want to build those? You said build the road to space. Come join us. But hey, maybe that's maybe you're not ready for that step. That's okay. You still want to help celebrate this moment. You can get some great launch gear in our Blue Origin shop. Pick up the
a merch plug. A merch plug.
Today's momentous event. Join us. Visit online. Shop.blueorigin.com.
Yeah, real quick, we have to plug this patch. A couple of things to notice. New Glenn's second stage mission, ascending to Mars with ESCAPADE. Top right, you'll see the nod to NASA's ESCAPADE spacecraft that are orbiting Mars. There's also the New Glenn booster in the landing configuration. You know you want the patch because this is the one that we landed the booster on. And the colors,
I do want the patch.
represent that red-orange hues of the Martian soil. And the New Glenn's BE-4 engines firing so beautifully and brightly, showing those mock diamonds in that thrust plume that you see. So thank you. Thank you all for all of our viewers who tuned in to watch this historic launch.
You too were part of today's history. And to the many people at Blue Origin who have spent years designing this rocket, building this rocket, testing it, getting it ready for today, we want to say thank you to you. We also want to say thank you to the FAA and to the range down here in Florida for supporting us, to the state of Florida, from the governor on down. Thank you. You are part of this team as well. This is going to conclude our second mission for New Glenn. The next era of space flight at Blue Origin is upon us.
It feels so good to say that. Once again, my name is Tabitha Lipkin. For myself, Ariane Cornell, Eddie Seifert, and every single person here at Blue Origin, more than 10,000 employees, we want to say thank you, and we are going to see you on the next launch. Welcome to the next era for Blue Origin. Until next time, stay cool and gradatum ferociter.
Oh, crap, the music. No, not the music. Sorry, I was watching the replay of the launch. Oh, baby, that is mint.
Listen, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
We did it. Proud to be able to say I helped land that booster.
Yeah,
Thanks
baby.
to EJ for inspiring me to make this my career.
Hell yeah.
I remember watching the first F9 on your stream. Now you watched me jump up and down on the stream?
Brother, I've never seen the picture of you. I have no idea what you look like. So if you were there, that's awesome, man. I don't know what you look like, dude. I've never seen a picture of you. Yeah, all right. Hell yeah, that'd be sick, though. That's awesome, man. Congratulations, dudes. All right, like cringe and giving the commentators crap aside, like that is superbly impressive. It's really freaking cool. That's really good stuff, man. That's really good stuff. Yeah, Admiral, that's a good way to say that. But yeah, no, like I said, that's what I mean about Blue with their very rigid, step-by-step, ferociously attitude. It is a very old school way of doing it, but it works. It works. It works well. Look at dude, that is a heavy lift launch vehicle. That's the biggest first stage that has ever come down and landed. Don't get me wrong, like Super Heavy is bigger, but that gets caught. This thing has landing legs. That's a little bit of a different ball game. I'm not trying to say one is more difficult than the other, but this is a big landing. That thing is huge. It's almost as big as Super Heavy. Landing it is impressive. That's really, really cool. And it's really awesome to be part of this emerging commercial new space program that's going on here. It's really cool. And it's really awesome to see it, man. Hey, Maverick, 37-month resub. Yeah, work at Texas, touchable stages and help the changes after NG1. Nice, man. Yeah. And like I said, dude, this is, the other day, like the reason why I keep saying like Blue just keep doing their thing is because look what happens when they do. The other day they were like, oh, we can accelerate the Artemis program. No. Don't do any of that. Let them cook. Hold up. Let them cook. Because stuff like this happens. That was an insanely cool landing. And that second stage is a monster, dude. Monster of a second stage. 7-meter payload fairing. GS2, GS1. Good stuff all around, man. Good stuff. I've never been happier to be wrong about calling that landing. I thought she was going in the drink. I'm like, nope, there's no way. But dude, it was like, nah. Whoop. It was like, gleh. Boop. Let them cook, dude. Let them do their thing. We get two sides of the same coin. Or two sides of the same coin, man. Blue's doing stuff old school. The right old school way. Like the Apollo program. And SpaceX is going ham on iterative design. This is freaking great, dude. We're seeing the fruits of this labor. One takes a little bit longer than the other, but that's what happens when you decide to build a partially reusable heavy lift launch vehicle for your first orbital rocket. That's the way she goes, man. Which company will be the next one landing rockets? Stoke. 161 by 315. That was their insertion orbit, Pelly Joe. Yeah, I don't know why they'd show that in ground speed, but whatever. Rocket Lab. Yeah. It would either be, it's either Stoke, Rocket Lab, or Relativity. Those are the next three that are probably going to do landing attempts. Think we could watch it again? I would not mind watching that thing fly again. That was fantastic. I mean, I'm going to keep the audio turned down because they cut the crowd in for the entire launch.
10,
couldn't hear anything.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lift up, detected. First motion.
Look at that damn thing fly. Holy shnikes. Oh, that's terrific. That's really good, man. He's banging the desk. Like I said, Sea Kraken, that's a big stage. It's a big stage. It's no joke. And it works. She works now.
40 seconds in. End of list, brakes now level.
Oh, that's nice.
50 seconds into flight. Continue to see good engine operating parameters. All set.
Why the low thrust to weight? It's probably because they haven't, the low TWR is, like I said, it could be engine configuration. It could be mass changes. She could be heavy, dude. It could be heavy, just in these kind of developmental configurations. It's possible. It's possible that there's just too much dry mass. But encountering a low mass fraction like this, or encountering a low mass fraction at this phase in development is either you really wouldn't want to get that here at this point in your testing regime. But hey, whatever. It's working. It's perfectly good for this moment in time if you're launching two payloads that are the size of a refrigerator. Remember, these ESCAPADE A and B are not big. They're not big payloads. They're pretty small. They're like the size of a mini fridge, maybe. They're like maybe just a medium-sized refrigerator. If you took 4 school buses, so 1 school bus, 2, 3, and 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and put all the school buses so all their tires are touching each other, that would fit inside of that fairing. It's a 7-meter wide fairing. That's 22 feet. Like I said, you could take 4 school buses and put them in 4 times symmetry inside it, and it would fit inside of that fairing. That fairing is massive. So it could be configuration. They could be intentionally throttling the engines. It could be that she might be a little bit too heavy and that this is a low, you have not a lot of payload mass. So fly it in this configuration. Screw it. And then now that you got it landed, you know if there's any superfluous parts on there. They did that with the space shuttle program, guys. That's how the shuttle program ended up. Columbia was heavy. Columbia was a heavy orbiter, very heavy, because they weren't sure. What do we know about reusing something that came back from space? Nobody had ever done that before. So they made it heavy on purpose, dude. That shutoff was insane. They made it heavy on purpose. But the orbiters that came after it, Challenger, Discovery, Atlantis, Endeavour, those are all lighter, way lighter. But they're lighter because of Columbia flying. I would imagine that with New Glenn's kind of rigid step-by-step attitude towards this, that they'll probably make some process optimization as they ramp further into production. So it could be low mass fraction on the booster. It could be that because the payloads are so light, they don't need the TWR and can afford the grav loss because you don't want to accelerate too quickly. If you accelerate too quickly and you exceed your dynamic compression or dynamic pressure on the front of the fairing, it'll shatter into a bajillion pieces. So it's probably just trajectory at this point, guys. There's staging, or that's the fairing separation. But yeah, dude, can I back it up here? NSF got blocked at launch by a cruise ship. Oh no. Dude, this scared me. I'll admit, during staging, the second stage induced a slew maneuver. It was an induced, not slew, it was a pitch rate. It was a positive pitch rate. Watch the second stage. It goes whoop. It initiated what's called a radial out burn component into its ascent burn. I thought it was going to flip. I've made too many bunk second stages in Kerbal to know to see that behavior. If your second stage starts doing this, you got problems. But no, fortunately, that was induced. It's because of the second stage. Yeah, they add a radial out component because they're using hydrogen. Hydrogen doesn't necessarily afford you the highest thrust to weight ratio. The engines are not necessarily like ridiculously powerful. Like, don't get me wrong, these BE3Us are monsters. Those are by far and away the biggest expander cycle, the highest thrust expander cycle engines flying by a long shot. However, it is using hydrogen. These engines don't have the highest amount of thrust, but they are absurdly efficient. If we're talking like, maybe we'll talk like horsepower and miles per gallon. Like, I like using cars to explain things because a lot more people know about cars than rockets. These B3Us aren't the most powerful things around, but they are insanely efficient. So that would be like if you had a motor, like a car engine that made like, oh, I don't know, let's say like 300 horsepower. It's not the highest horsepower rating around. 300 horse is fine, but this thing gets 150 miles to the gallon. That would be the equivalent. They're pretty good, man. 150 miles to the gallon with a 300 horsepower motor is pretty impressive. But that's because they're using hydrogen. You could theoretically do that with a car engine if it was burning hydrogen, but that's another story. Yeah, Transit, dude, that slew maneuver that the booster did really threw me for one, dude. I thought she crashed. I was like, oh, it crashed. I've never been happier to be proven wrong, bro. I have never been happier to be proven wrong. That's so cool, man. I'll take the L, dude. That's fine. I don't care. I got to see one land. Yeah, dude. 95, this thing did this. It did this, and it slewed onto the barge and landed. You've got to be kidding me, man. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Come on. Did the reason for the first one popping ever come up? Propellant management on the second stage and engine bleed control systems were the result of the mishap failure investigation, Aqualux. My guess is they didn't settle the propellants correctly. That's why I was watching this thing like a hawk here during this phase. When they got to here, I locked in and I was looking. What I'm looking for is the propellant settling thrusters. You could see them firing right there. Not necessarily the ones that are firing out like this direction, but you could tell that there's thrusters that are going in that direction. They're downward facing thrusters. Those are there. And Falcon 9 has stuff like this too, for what it's worth. Those downward facing thrusters are for settling the propellants. You have to put the booster under some sort of an acceleration or deceleration. If you don't, the propellants, and I know you guys know this, but some of you don't, your propellants won't settle at the bottom. In microgravity, right, they'll just be sloshing around all over the place. But those downward-facing thrusters are putting a deceleration on the booster, and that's settling all the propellant at the bottom, because down here is where the pickup is to feed the engines. That's really important to understand that. You don't settle the propellant, you go to fire it, it's going to blow up. I'm pretty sure that that's what happened to Flight 1 because of the mishap investigation. They said fluid management and engine bleed control system, so that means they didn't settle the propellants correctly. Yeah, Deadbringer, exactly. B3Us are no joke, man. They're really good engines. Really good. 778 kilonewton expander cycle. You've got to be kidding me. That is a triumph of physics. I'm not even kidding. I'm not just saying that to gain favor with Blue. Launch more, please. Launch more, please. You said 6. There's only 2 this year. Said 6 this year. Please launch more. No, but B3Us are impressive. That's really cool. Really cool piece of kit. Could you put the fuel in some kind of bladder or bag to avoid that issue? K3, did you watch the space news that I did where SpaceX showed that extremely freaking long tube that they're putting into Super Heavy, the new versions of Super Heavy? That tube that's like as long as Falcon 9? Did you see that at all? Thanks for the stream. No problem, can't see me. That was mint. That was fantastic. Not yet. Long story short, they put tanks inside of tanks to settle the propellants. A bladder could work, but fuel bladders are really only used with a pressure-fed system, not a turbopump-driven system. Every rocket motor has what's called a manner of actuation, meaning that how do you get fuel into the engine? You have to do that. That's either done with back pressure, so like a helium back pressure, or you have pumps, turbo pumps, or power heads, or whatever. How efficient are the BE-3U compared to the RS-25? About the same, Wolian. But keep in mind, you know, you make about the same specific impulse because you're using the same propellant. But what's ridiculous about this is that the shuttle engine is like a dragster engine. Super light, makes tons of horsepower, but you gotta refurbish it after every try. This thing, and it gets crazy good fuel economy, right? What we'd be doing here is like comparing like a nitromethane dragster motor to like a Prius engine, right? Or like an economy diesel car. So like a Mercedes A-Class diesel or something. They're both cars, right? But the fact that both of these things are making the same miles per gallon is ridiculous. Or what do you guys use? Kilometers per liter? Right? What is a Raptor then? A Raptor is also a dragster engine. Yeah, it's a nitromethane nitrous injected dragster engine. Yeah. Liters per 100 kilometers. You use 100 km a liter? I suppose that makes sense. What about a syringe type of thing? Well, okay, so Storm, the syringe is, they do that. They do stuff like that, but that will work. The deceleration is you pushing the syringe in, right, and getting the propellants to feed. Why is that? Well, okay, if a rocket fuel tank is partially empty, you have gas inside of the tank, all right? As far as I can tell, New Glenn uses helium gas for ullage, meaning that as you drain the tank, if you didn't have anything in here, the pressure would drop in the tank as the fluid's drained and it would compress. It would implode. Every rocket would do that. You don't want that. You got to pump some gas back into it to maintain the flight pressure, right? So what rockets do, like Falcon 9, or I'm pretty sure New Glenn does this as well. They have helium tanks that are full of cryogenic helium gas. It's really hard to get liquid helium, and by hard, nigh impossible. So they have cryogenic helium gas, and those tanks vent, and they fill up this cavity here, right? They fill up this cavity here that is left from the fluid draining, right? That's called tank ullage. Okay, so when the engines are on and stuff, this gas being pressurized here is pushing your propellants down into your fuel pumps. That's called head pressure. The ullage gas creates head pressure at your impeller, meaning the pumps. It basically forces the fuel into the pumps like a syringe that you're talking about. The problem is, remember, you could pump more helium into the tank to make the head pressure, right? But it's not about pushing it in. Pushing the propellants in, right? That's not the whole deal. If you started pumping helium in when there was no propellant in there, or there was no propellant being fed to the engines, like right before an engine firing, right? You would overpressurize the tank. So what do? The ullage propellants are there, and if you're in the right circumstances, the ullage gas can feed correctly, but that only really works when the engine is on. So you gotta find a way to get those propellants to have proper feed. So the syringe here, you pushing down on the syringe in this idea would be the settling thrusters. I'll try to show you if they're firing here. You'll see them. They're thrusters that are pointing this way. They're not pointed that way or that way. They're pointing down. And you could see them fire right before ignition. It's just there to settle all your propellants. And that slight deceleration, because the thing's slowing down because it's firing its downward thrusters, settles the propellants, and then they fire the engines and it forces it in to the engine, to the fluid impellers. Tiger Fang, 61-month resub. I'm trying to see if we can see them firing. There they were. I saw them. It's only for a small second. We're going to have to do the old YouTube scrub through there. See those ones? those guys that are firing in synchronous, right? They fire the left and right side. Those are your settling thrusters. I know that those are your settling thrusters because if you were trying to turn the booster with a thruster at the top, you wouldn't fire two directions at once, right? That won't do anything. That's not going to do anything. You fire two things at the top. Those thrusters up there are to reorient the stage to get it to the right angle to do that deceleration burn for when the booster's coming back down, right? So you see 2x, you see thrusters firing on both sides. Those are your prop settling thrusters right there, as opposed to the one that shoots out this way or the one that shoots out that way. Now, keep in mind, these prop settling thrusters don't need to be on all the time. All you got to do is do 1, 3, or 4, like small pulses. You don't want to shock load anything. So you just do, right? And that's enough to get all the propellants to slowly move to the bottom of the tank. That coupled with aerodynamic deceleration is enough to get the right feed pressure. Yeah, all good, Storm. Basically, your tankology is working like your proverbial syringe, but the engine has to be on to do that because one of the big things for tankology gases is maintaining a very, 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 very small delta P inside of the tank. Some people just went, "What? What the frick did you just say?" When your propellants are draining, you're removing pressure from the tank if you don't pump gas in there. Rockets rely on pressurization for structural integrity. The reason why they do that is because if you can use pressure for structure, that's less structure. That's less rocket on your rocket, right? The less rocket you have on your rocket and the more fuel and oxidizer you have on your rocket, the further your rocket's going to go. That's the plain English way of saying the delta V formula, right? The formula that rocket scientists use to figure out how far a booster can go. Like a rocket's range is measured in acceleration. So the less rocket you have on your rocket, the more fuel you have on your rocket can accelerate more, it can change its velocity more, so you can go further, right? So you rely on structure for your pressure. This is why, like, if you have a can of a liter of cola, right, in an aluminum can or an aluminum can, you can, if it's pressurized, you can stand on it. But if you open it up and stand on it, it's just going to shatter into a bajillion pieces. Rockets work like that because it's about less rocket on your rocket. If you can have less rocket on there and more fuel on there, it'll go further. Imagine soda coming in 1 liter cans. Yeah, cool, Lex, I'm screwed anyway. I'm screwed anyway I say that. If I say soda can, people are going to be like, excuse me, pop cans. If I say pop cans, people are going to be like, excuse me, Coke cans. If I say Coke cans, people are going to be like soda cans. So I say a liter of cola, all right? I make it a movie reference because it's me, okay? Liter is French for give me some freaking cola.
That looks great. We have our booster reentry burn.
Soft drink. Soft drink sounds like I'm 77 years old. Yes, I would like a soft drink, please. No, I'm not doing that. Movie references.
All 3 engines.
So see, they settled the propellants and they went to fire the engines. Good to go. I mean, that's impressive. Even that right there, all 3 triple engine ignition like that, really good. Just order a large Farva. I don't want a large Farva. Give me a Pepsi for you. Want Pepsi? You got to pay for it, pal.
No matter what happens next, we have had a good day. This is further than we made it on.
Do I get to call this supersonic retropropulsion even though Blue doesn't call it because that's exactly what it is? I must admit, Methalox-based supersonic retropropulsion does look pretty damn cool. So if you guys see this crescent right here, see that? That's a heat shield. Yes, you heard that right. That's a heat shield. Why is it a heat shield and how? Well, I don't know if you guys noticed by the speed over here, this thing's going pretty fast. It's going really fast. Now, it's not enough to burn up in the atmosphere, but it's almost enough to burn up in the atmosphere. It's close, right? That still is going to generate some reentry heating on the vehicle. So some type of thermal protection system is warranted. This is why the multiple rockets that we have nowadays that can come back down and land from sending something up into orbit fire their engines. They fire their engines to actually envelop the rocket as it's decelerating in a cooler column of gas. And what you're seeing here is the interaction from the exhaust plume from the 3 engines interacting with the oncoming laminar flow, meaning the air around it. If the air around it was just allowed to go up next to the vehicle, it would compress on the bottom surfaces here and you'd get plasma. That's what re-entry heating is. It's compression of air. The air gets compressed so hard that, per the ideal gas law, if you squeeze gases, they get really, really hot. Or if you decompress gases, they get really cold. Right? But in this particular case, you're squeezing gases up at the front of the vehicle. The gases on something that's re-entering get so ridiculously compressed that basically they rip to shreds. They ionize. They just basically rip apart. They get so pushed together, they actually split. And that does create a release of energy. The release of energy comes in the form of plasma. That's what re-entry heating is. Now, you obviously don't want that on your first stage because you need that back. You do not want the bottom of it burning up. That would probably be not useful to reusing it. So what they do is they fire the engines here. Blue fires these engines. And like I said, Falcon 9 does this too. It's my favorite part. They fire the engines and the engine exhaust gas actually pushes that compressed air out of the way. And because you're flying business end first, right? Because the rocket's going that way, right? The rocket exhaust envelops the entire vehicle. And the rocket exhaust is basically being used as your heat shield. That's why if you look at the plume interaction here, it looks like a heat shield. Weird, huh? It has that same hemispherical shape that a heat shield would. Same exact idea. It's as much easier to show when you have methane engines and you can clearly see the plume interaction because with Falcon 9, it's Carolox. So you can't, it's shooting a lot of soot out. It's really hard to see the interaction, but you can see it a lot better here. I'll check it in a second. I'll check that link.
On NG1, that's right.
So that's actually the heat shield. The engines firing are protecting the booster and they're shielding it from the oncoming reentry. You can actually see some plasma propagation right there. You can see a shock. Look at that. Look at the shock. That's badass, dude. Oh, that's so cool that we can see it. You can't see any of this with Falcon 9 because the propellants it's Carolox based. So kerosene and liquid oxygen. So it's very sooty. You can't see that. Yeah, Greg, dude, this is badass. Dude, look at, oh, I didn't notice that before. That's freaking sick. Oh, that's so cool. I get to call it the SSRP because, yeah, that's a good point. That was badass, dude. We usually can't see it. The reason why these propellants are so clean and why the kerosene propellants from like Falcon 9 aren't is because methane is a much simpler a much simpler kind of compound. Oh, chemists are gonna shoot me, and it's deserved. It's a much simpler thing. It's just CH4 as opposed to kerosene, which is CH in a really long chain. It doesn't burn as efficient, right? This burns a lot more efficient than kerosene does. You get much more complete combustion. So the plume comes out rather clear. That's why you can see it. Oh, that's so cool. Compound works. All right, cool. That would be me Googling the title of the stream. Don't want to do that. Okay, let's just do it again. All right, how about we do that? And then we go over here and paste that over here. Sometimes Synergy hates me. That's a shot of Dream Chaser. Sierra should rename that to Dream Coping or Cope Chaser or something. All right, I want to see the slew. Let's go.
Standing by for touchdown.
Oh!
GS2 continuing to work. Sun system looks good.
Why did you cut it? Oh, dude. No, I want to see the whole landing from here. That's ridiculous. Look at that. Dude, that thing's just... Dude, that thing is as big as a 15-story building. So imagine a skyscraper just kind of... Okay, yeah, I'm just going to fly my skyscraper today. Okay. Whoop. We got Jeff baited. They blue origined us. We got Jeff baited. Come on, man. I stopped my supersonic retropropulsion explanation for that. I want to know what took this shot, dude. Hide your bebos. That's wild, man. You've got to be kidding me. Wow. A camera. Well, yeah. But where is this camera is really more my question, I guess, Joshan. It's on me. Buxo, what'd you ask? What'd you ask, man? What'd you ask, man? Who you with? Oh. New Glenn to SpaceX. This does the same thing, dude, but this is a little more spicy than Falcon 9. I would probably put a New Glenn landing on relative technical complexity to like Falcon Heavy. Yeah. I keep doing Falcon 9 comparisons. It would be better to compare this thing to Falcon Heavy. That's what it's more analogous to. I mean, doing this with fully cryogenic propellants, landing legs, shutting off engines, turning back, that's hard to do, man. Starship, New Glenn, whatever. This is a manner of difficulty above something like Falcon 9. It's pretty damn impressive for what it is. Like it's synonymous in function, dude, but this thing's got a little more horsepower under the hood than a Falcon 9. Yeah, dude, getting this thing to do this and slew like that is that's a lot of math. A lot of math. Like that is doing the opposite of hyperbole. That's very understated. That is in freaking sane doing that with that damn thing. Yes, that's a slew. So you got a translational component, a translation velocity component off axis like that. That is insanely difficult. Really, credit where credit is due. That's impressive. In the Battle of Hearts and Mind, the pictures are worth more than the immediate mission. There's definitely a component to it, Pontius, for sure. It's in the drink. That's what I thought, dude. I thought she was toast. I'll admit, I saw this over here. I'm like, nope, that crashed. I have never been happier to be proven wrong. Please do it again, Blue. Please prove me wrong again. I'm here for it. I'll take the L. That's fine. I'm good with that. Do you think they did that as a safety measure? I think that has something to do with it, Space Ghost. Sure. I think they're doing that because that's what they know. Go with what you know. That's the name of the game in this business, dude. Go with what you know. New Shepard lands like that. Why shouldn't New Glenn land like that, right? Hey, Joe, what's going on?
Oh, this is space.
Dude,
I'm in space.
That's impressive, man. And looks like all their thermal protection systems held up really nice. Okay, gifted us up to half go. Yeah, there they go. That's the deck fastening mechanism. I'm not sure. Everybody says they're welded. I'm not sure if that's welding. That looks like it shoots something into the ground. But I don't know. It could be like a frangible nut or something causing your actuation there. Like, I'm not exactly sure. It could be Flex Seal. That's right. Explosive welding. That would be my guess, Aqualux. Yeah. I'll bet you it's an explosive bolt that just shoots into the deck. I'm gonna frangibly nut. No, you're gonna explosively screw or bolt. Yeah, either way, it's cool, and it worked. I did see something weird with it, though. Okay, like, EJ, you saw something weird. What'd you see with it? Well, what the fastening system over here did pop off in a different direction. Like, watch this leg. So watch over here. One of the, see it popped something out over there. I didn't see that happen to the other ones. Now, once again, that's not that big of a deal, right? It's not that big of a deal, but that is, one of them is doing something different than all the others. If I was an engineer at Blue, I'd be looking at why that did that. Just on a quick side note, I would really want to understand why this one popped off and the other ones didn't. But let's be real here. Let's be real. If that's the only problems that you're looking at after this mission, and that's the only thing I really saw wrong here, I didn't see anything else that was potentially anomalous. If that's the only thing they got to deal with, man, we're going to see another one of these real soon. Fortunately, you brought it back, so you just walk up and take a look. That's right, man. Just think, one of these people is Pulse. I wonder what the refurbishment process would be for this booster. I don't know, man. They're gonna want to look at this thing. I would really, really look at. I mean, this booster will fly again. The way that Blue is testing, it's definitely going to fly again. It maybe even be on the next flight. I know, Hurtful, but the camera cuts, which is stupid. You're gonna want to take, okay, all right, here's what I would do, and this is probably not far off from what Blue is doing, but I could very much be wrong. I would take this booster and I would really give it a post-flight inspection. What would I be looking for in my post-flight inspection? Well, obviously, okay, what's the difference between when you shipped the booster to the pad and now? I'd be looking for what changed. Okay, so what changed? What's the real obvious thing? The legs are open. Okay, that's obvious. The charges have all been fired. That one came apart. I'd really want to figure out why that happened. I'd compare that to every single other one. Why did that part pop off? That shouldn't have done that, as far as I can tell. But once again, minor problem at best. I'd take the rest of this booster and I'd look over everything. Look at thickness on the Comet, their thermal protection system. Look at wear inside the liners on the engines. Any scorch marks. Check inside of the tanks. I'd clean the tanks out, purge them out, and just what I'd really want to do is try as hard as I can to compare this booster to when it left for the pad a couple of days ago. Look for anything, and I mean anything, that's different. Right? Because if everything's the same, then you're good to go. But I would really want to be absolutely sure that everything's the same. Booster looks fine. It looks fine to me. There's no scorch marks or nothing on this thing. It looks fantastic. But how meticulous you are with details here about what changed, because it obviously changed its flight configuration. Like I said, the landing legs are down. I would look at everything. Seals, bearings, O-rings, everything. Look at everything and compare it to when it left. If everything is the same, well, now you have a good datum. You have a good point on what type of wear, if at all, happens on the booster when you bring one back. This is what SpaceX had to do 10 years ago. The first Falcon 9s that were reused were taken apart. They were taken apart. And SpaceX looked, they took every piece apart to understand what changed by bringing a booster back and landing, if anything did. And they made better versions of it. I wonder what happened to Pulse. Happy to see him doing fantastic. Yeah, Pulse, if you're out there, man, thank you. And Hokie, you did give 12 months of Tier 1 to HAFCO, which is, thank you. I did see that. Pulse with a hundo tip. Yeah, my pleasure, bro. If you're still out there. My pleasure. This stuff's it's so goddamn cool. You know, I don't mean this in a derogatory way. It's freaking cool seeing people's Kerbal creations in real life. I'm dead serious. I don't have a better way to say that. It's really cool seeing people's Kerbal contraptions doing stuff in real life. Because this thing's a freaking Kerbal contraption. So is the space shuttle, for what it's worth. So is Falcon 9. These are Kerbal. These are things that when Kerbal Space Program first came out, and the reason why I bring up Kerbal a lot is because I'm a KSP streamer. When KSP first came out, dude, people were making all kinds of crazy things. And now we're seeing, like, stuff like this was, dude, that was a pipe dream. Now we're seeing it happen. We're seeing it happen in real life. And it's so freaking cool, dude. Yeah, maybe, Veros. Yeah, it's possible. But see, like, that behavior is differential to the other ones. That's why I pointed this out. This is the kind of stuff you got to look for if you want to get into this industry. You have to be meticulous. What's changed? What's different? If that thing popped differently, why did it pop differently? Know the exact reason. Because that is understanding the behavior of what you made. And if you can understand the behavior of the vehicle that you made, if you understand how it works, you can say conclusively that it is doing what you want it to do. And if the vehicle's doing exactly what you want it to do, well, hot damn, you're a damn good rocket scientist. Because oftentimes people go to launch these things and it's very clearly obvious to see when it doesn't do what they intended it to do, meaning it blows up. But that's how meticulous you have to be. That's why people say it's not rocket science or it's not rocket surgery, because you have to look for this stuff. Why did that happen? What's the difference? You know, what's the configuration of this booster? Did we get any thermal protection system wear? Are our engines burnt out from landing? Like, that's all stuff they got to look over. So the reason why I bring all this up, the reason why I was saying is because this booster will probably fly again, but it's probably not going to fly again for a little bit. But it looks to be in very good condition. That's a great shot from Interstellar Gateway, Sam. Older Buffalo, 31-month resub. Thank you. 2 weeks? Maybe. Either way, superbly impressive. That's awesome, man. Congratulations to all. Those guys must be so damn proud. That's so cool. Can't wait to see this thing move lunar landers. That's going to be badass. But step by step, ferociously, right? Yeah, I see what Talon said. Yep. When in G3. It's hard to say, Noctrilox. It really depends on the condition of that booster. Now, like I said, at face value, that booster looks pretty good, man. It looks to be in pretty damn good condition. I would want some time to go over this. I'd say a couple of months. I would want some time to really inspect that booster and really understand what it did. Did it do? Obviously, it landed. Did it land exactly how you want? I don't know. That's up to them to find out. But I think that's great, man. February, I'd say February. Late January or February would probably be a pretty safe bet, Talon, yeah. And they got one. They freaking got one back, dude. Damn impressive. Can you look at liftoff again? Was it about the same TWR as last time? Super slow? Yeah, I noticed that. That could be a couple of different things, dude. When EJRTS EJ? I don't know what that means. See you later, Joe. Pokey, I can only think that it's a couple of things, dude. Either the booster's still too heavy and they need to squeeze more mass out of that thing. They need to squeeze more dry mass out of that thing, or they deliberately throttled the engines back this time because Escapade is so ridiculously light. If they shot this thing off the pad with like a 1.3 TWR, it could... Your aerodynamic compression, your max Q would be quite higher. I mean, fellas, the other thing to take into account is that this rocket's frigging gigantic. It's huge. It looks like it's going slow. It's not going slow. It's a big, big rocket. To answer your question, what was getting those shots? I'd surmise it was the WB-57. Thank you. Yeah. Like I said, that thing's gigantic. It looks like it's going slow. It's not going slow. It's like if you see like an aircraft carrier or something doing 30 knots. That's fast for something that big. That's very fast. Dude. Oh, that's nice. C5 Galaxy doesn't look like it should be flying. Exactly, dude. It's just scale. Our monkey brains are just... Oh, yeah, here's it landing, by the way. It scales our monkey brains just aren't used to seeing. Public KSA release. We can play that tomorrow, dude. I got Anno. I want to play Anno. My rough counts like 7 meters in around 2 seconds, so 1.3 TWR. Yeah. You know, it could be mass, like what we were saying, dudes, but I originally theorized that the first one got off the pad because of a conservative engine parameters, meaning that it's not really the design, but it could be. Like, we don't know. There's a bunch of things that could make it go slow off the pad, but this one didn't seem to do that. That's pretty fast. That's fast enough. The rocket is just frigging gigantic. Wait a minute. Hold on. Huh. There was a little bit of a roll rate induced on the vehicle. I'm not sure if that's on purpose. Look, watch the wing. Vehicle turned a little bit off the pad. Now, generally, rockets do roll off the pad. That happens, but would you do it while you're still close to the towers. No, that's why they say, oh, we've cleared the tower. There was a little bit of a roll rate at there. Let me see it. Are the engines compensating for it? I mean, don't get me wrong. That happens. Stuff like that happens. It's if you see it start to do this at takeoff, that means something is not correct. Yeah, definitely a little bit of roll there, but that it looks like it compensated for it, whatever it is. I mean, overall, guys, this looks like pretty much 100% success. Like, I'm nitpicking little things just because this is what I do. I do this with everybody's rockets. I'm really watching it a little bit closer this time instead of commentating on it. Everything looks fine, dude. It looks great. Like, yeah, no, great. Ice imbalance, yeah. Transit, whenever you... Okay, so, like, here's the thing. You do get a little bit of roll from the vehicle off the pad, just a little bit. You do get a little bit of pitch, you get a little bit of yaw. It happens. The reason why that stuff happens is because the rocket is very aerodynamically unstable. Right in the initial phase of pad separation, very aerodynamically unstable. You can't rely on drag at the bottom of the vehicle to keep you nice and stable, right? You have to purely rely on thrust vector control right at ignition, unless you have a high TWR, like a 2.0 TWR, or like a rail if you're using high-powered rocketry, right? And you accelerate really quickly to the point where, you know, you're aerodynamic in seconds. This thing can't do that. Until you get to that point, you're very aerodynamically unstable. You're relying on the engine TVC to work. So a lot of corrections. The engines are doing a lot of movement right at liftoff, and you do get a little bit of a pitch and a yaw rate. It happens. It compensated for it just fine. That is normal. That does happen. Now, whether blue, I mean, that was a lot of roll. That was a lot. And maybe it's just easier to see with New Glenn because of the wing. It's easier to see if that thing rolls. I mean, most other rockets are just a cylinder, right? So it would be like, oh, is this thing rolling right now? I don't know. Right? But that was a lot. I don't think you'd want to roll 20 degrees like that. Or maybe like 10. But still, really good. I think a few seconds of this clip you should go on your wall of fame. Yeah, maybe. Hey, Vert, I think this thing got off the pad a lot quicker than we think. I think it's just big. It's just a big freaking rocket, dude. Do you think they'll sell used BE-4s to ULA now? Maybe. I don't think Tori Bruno want no used rocket engine, you know what I mean? I'd prefer them not to, Jeff, because I want them to make more rocket engines. Could it have been an in-flight thruster checkout? Why would you check out thrusters that are used for maneuvering when you're already flying, Erudite? That's not, you generally you don't want to do that.
Lift off, effective. Close motion. New Glenn has cleared the tower.
Yeah, it compensated. You could see the PIDs on the GNC compensated. If that made no sense, the guidance system took it. You could see it. If you look real close, you could see the vehicle doing this. It compensated and dampened out the rate. So yeah, that's fine. It's totally okay.
Seconds into flight. Engine operating parameters continue with good at full thrust. Body rate response to normal. 40 seconds in.
That rocket is a looker, I will say. It's a very nice looking vehicle. It's definitely a looker. I love the gold thermal protection system, the Comet. Like the wings have this like gold foil thing going on here, like bronzish stuff. That looks sick. It looks real good.
End of roll switch now level. 50 seconds into flight. Continue to see good engine operating parameters.
careful when it comes to the
Body rate response
pressures and
continue
the
to look good during
speed.
descent.
We want to see
Engine
this
operating
rocket
parameters
punch
continue to look
through
good.
that max
Seeing
fuel.
good
Stand
TDC
by.
control, good MR control.
Dude, gotta talk to the audio guy. The crowd noise being equalized with the commentators in the control loop is not doing it for me.
1 minute, 15 seconds in.
But then again, I suppose if our only gripe with this whole thing is the commentators, then they did a pretty damn good job. You know?
Now passing Mach 1, New Glenn is now supersonic.
Supersonic! And we can hear the
1 minute, 30
roar here.
seconds. Engine operating parameters continue to look good at full thrust. Max Q, maximum dynamic pressure.
Dang, that thing is nice. That's real good, man. Like I said, Bob, Blue needs to just cook. Just let them cook. Let them do their thing. It's worth it. Am I right? Focus bothers you more than the audio. Can you talk a little bit about how the exhaust plume changes shape as it climbs? Yeah, Transit Biker, the pressure drops. There's no pressure up there. Your pressure goes down. And as your pressure goes down, the gases have more room to expand because it's lower pressure. That's why the plume kind of expands as it goes higher and higher. Dude. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad.
Discovery.
Would you just look at it? Would you just look at it? Oh yeah. Would you look at this? This rocket was great, but when Roman Empire? Now I'm gonna watch it 5 more times now because you said that.
1 minute, 45 seconds in.
Oh.
All 7 V4 engines continue to look good. Body rate's nominal. Seeing good control.
Dude, that thing's freaking beast mode, man. Look at that damn thing.
MR and TDC. Acceleration profile nominal. Now passing 2 minutes into flight.
BE4 is unreal.
One minute remaining in boost phase.
All right, 1 minute remaining in boost phase. You heard our team say. Then we'll hit Miko. Main engine cutoff. That's going to lead to a sequence of events. We will separate the first stage from the second. And that's when the first stage is going to begin its journey back home. We're going to see if we can land the booster separately. Of course, we will get the second stage off and going with the NASA ESCAPADE satellites on board on their way to Mars.
Trajectory continues to look good, seeing good data quality coming down from the vehicle. Body rate response
Great to hear that. Good data quality.
All 7 engines continue
Looking
to look
nominal. Next up, Miko, which is main engine cutoff. The cheers are real.
They didn't say that this time, Dan. Thank God. But then again, I muted most of the cast, so maybe they did.
You can hear them all the way in here.
And we have Miko.
Bro, look at that, dude. No sequenced shutdown, man. 7 simultaneous shutdown. That's pretty good. That's not easy. So shutting down all the engines at once, really hard to do. Think of all the fluid, all the fuel and oxidizer that's moving into those engines at the crazy, ridiculous flow rates. The pipes that are feeding all 7 of those engines, the amount of pressure and flow rate going in there makes a fire hose look like a water fountain. Okay, imagine stopping all that instantly 7 times over. That's really impressive stuff.
And we have Miko.
So what you see there, the immediately right after, you see residual propellants get evacuated. That was that extra spark that you saw from all the engines. And then they purge out the engines with helium. That's what this gas is right here.
We have good stage set.
So this is a shot looking on the second stage, looking back at the first stage. This is the top of the, I think it's the LNG tank. Those are vent lines right there. And these are pneumatic pressure. Why is that one unhooked? Maybe it's going into the tank. I don't know. It looks like some stuff is disconnected there, but clearly it's not a big deal. It's got a that's most likely a purging system. So it's probably something to evacuate these pneumatic lines, if I had to guess. You want to do that. You don't just want to keep atmosphere in the lines and then pump helium through them, because then you get oxidizer inside. You get oxygen and nitrogen inside the lines. Oxygen's very reactive. So you need evac mechanisms on your pneumatic systems to be able to do like what an HVAC guy does with an air conditioner. You need to be able to evac everything. That's probably an evac port, if I had to guess. Because there's nothing, it doesn't look like it should be connected to anything.
Stage 2, both engine parameters look good. Body rate stamping out nicely. Both DCU engines look good at high thrust set point. Body rate responses look good. 3 minutes, 43 seconds into flight.
Look at that view.
Nice. It did good. Yeah, all right. Well, that was the NG2 Escapade mission. Pretty freaking good, man. Pretty good. Congratulations to everybody at Blue. That was fantastic. You guys did great. Did great. Very skookum, yeah. Yeah, let's, all right. When's the next one? Excuse me, when hop again? Anyway, that's going to do it for the coverage here, guys. I'm going to go back to playing video games. This is a Twitch stream after all. We do play video games here. So I actually have a new game that we're going to play today. I was gifted between this stream and last, I was gifted Anno 117 Pax Romana. It's kind of like City Skylines, but with ancient Rome. We should play that. Yeah, we should play that. We are going to, yeah, that's not even, dude, we have another launch today. That's right, Spoiled. We have another launch. The Viasat 3 F2 mission is happening in about 4 hours. So we got a nice solid 4 hours of, NO. Mind telling me what you're doing in Rome? Sir, fighting off these hordes. So we got another launch. We got another launch happening a little later now. We got an Atlas V going from the same space center, which is pretty cool. All right. So you guys know the drill. I'm going to jog the VOD over on YouTube. Twitch will have a momentary loss of signal here for a second. I'm just going to get up, stretch, and this will be a quick break. I will be back here for Anno 117. All right. Stand by for loss of signal as expected, and thank you very much for watching. That NG2 coverage was cool, man. I really... Blue Origin, we will be following your career with great interest. I love democracy. And I love the Republic. No, seriously, I'm hype on the next one. It's gonna be great, man. No, Nova, it will not. All right. Will you have Spartans? Close enough. It's not, but all right. Stand by for lost signal as expected. Thank you very much for watching.